Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera Passions. I am your regular host, Latara, back today with one of our longtime supporters of the show. And lately, we've been seeing his face a lot, Garentch.
What's up? What's going on, guys?
Welcome back. How you feeling?
Love having me. Love being here.
I love that. You love having me here. I love that.
Soap opera talk.
We do love having you here. We're excited to hear what you have to say. There's a lot of Antonio this week, so I'm interested to see how you feel.
Because I know about Antonio for sure.
Yeah, because I know how much you hate Antonio.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of us, we all hate him. But we watched episodes 826 through 830 this week, correct?
Yep.
Yes. And it was heavy on the Shawise, heavy on Chad and Whitney, actually, which was nice. I am interested to get your opinion when we get to the Chad and Whitney stuff, because I realized while I was watching the new Chad, right? We got a new Chad. I don't love his characterization of Chad. I think he plays him kind of jerky. I was like, oh, he's kind of being kind of a jerk.
And I mentioned that on the podcast. I feel like, I remember you were saying how they kind of keep the characters consistent, but I feel like they drastically sometimes like go away from a different character. You know, well, he's not street, that's for sure.
No, he's not street at all. But also, I think what I noticed was like some of his lines, I was like, I can hear Chad saying this, but the way he delivered the line, I was like, Chad would never deliver the line of Whitney like that. He would be much kinder, much gentler, but he was very forceful with Whitney. And maybe if we still had Dawn, he also, maybe the character is just fed up with Whitney, and so he's just being a jerk. But that's not how I ever read Chad.
Also, like, he just started, so he's probably trying to ease his way in the role. But I did see on some bloopers, I think it was Ethan got fed up with him, like flubbing a line. So I think I don't know, maybe he's known for like, not, reciting the lines as well.
I don't know.
In one of the bloopers on YouTube, I noticed that.
I didn't like, he was being kind of like, it was crazy because I agreed with the words he was saying. I just didn't agree with the way he was saying them.
Yeah, very emo, you know what I mean?
It was very me, I. And it was like mean. It's like, oh, your dead grandfather. Yeah. It was like,
yeah, like he's basically shaming her. You know what I mean?
But we'll get there. So we're gonna start. I didn't tell you this, but we're gonna start with Magic. Then we're gonna move to Fated Couples, which is Theresa, Ethan, Gwen, and Whitney and Chad. And then we're gonna do Shawise and finish with Troubled Marriages, Ivy and Sam and them. Good Lord.
That's very short too, like Magic, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty short. Magic's very short. And Troubled Marriages, I could stretch it. I could talk about it.
I can see that.
but I think we can probably. They don't feature very heavily this week, so I think we can kind of zoom through that. But before we get into the episode, I want to give a shout out to all the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Moonashe, Lisa, Sid, Sorana's back. My mom has joined the Patreon again. Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, Casey, Garentch, Tom Bergeron, Daisy, Shane, Kelly, Taylor Harris Crane, DJ, Kelly, and Rodo. Thank you all so much for continuing to be patrons and supporting the show. We're having a lot of fun on the Discord. We're having a lot of fun on watch parties. So if you're not a patron, if you haven't signed up yet, go over to the patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And now with that, on with the show. So we're going to start with, what did I say, Magic?
Magic?
there's very little to say here. There are babies running around this town, these magic babies running around. There's a runaway baby, and it's in the hospital, and it basically attacks Charity.
Yeah.
Right, like this baby is in the hospital. She's in bed, right? She's by herself, and the baby like jumps up on her little tray table in front of her bed. It starts to like dance, and Charity's very, very upset. She starts screaming, "It's an evil baby, Miguel!" Because Miguel's like out in the hallway scheming with Kay to keep the fact that they slept together a secret. And so they run into the room. They don't see the baby at first. They don't see the baby. They just think she's nuts. Well, I would think she was nuts. She was acting crazy. And yes, Charity saw the baby, but man, imagine just going into a room, into a hospital room, and there's this girl like under the covers, falling off the bed, screaming, "Miguel, the evil baby, the baby, it was here, it was evil." I mean, and Kay's face was hilarious because she was just like, "What is this girl talking about?" Great, another Charity meltdown, basically. But the baby runs out of the room, and Kate actually sees the baby. She's like, "Miguel, no, I saw it too." Because Miguel, of course, tells Charity she's just tired, right? He's just like, you're seeing things. You're tired because you went to the party last night, and all of the weirdness that happened last night. You're just too tired. You need to lay down. You need to rest. You need a nap. The girl always needs a nap, according to Miguel. But Kay saw the baby too. She's like, "Miguel, I saw that baby too. I'll go catch it." So she goes running after the baby. She chases it all over the hospital. At one point it like kicks her in the head, and it's just hijinks. It's funny. I liked it. It was one of the moments.
Comic relief.
Yeah, she's running around this hospital trying to catch this baby, and it was funny. Meanwhile, over at Tabitha's house, Reese looks into Tabitha's house and sees Cracked Connie, which he recognizes as the doll that stole his car. And he also sees the other 3 babies running around in there. And so he runs off to tell Jessica, "Hey, there's something crazy going on in Tabitha's house. Come and look." Jessica, of course, doesn't believe him, but they go and like bang on the door, demand to come inside. They come inside. And mind you, these babies have like wreaked havoc in her house. They were like throwing things, tearing shit up, throwing furniture. And so her house is an absolute mess. Reese and Jessica come inside. Reese just starts like storming around, like, "Where are those babies? Where are those babies?" Because Tabitha had convinced Cracked Connie to like get them into a room somewhere. There was a really tasteless Michael Jackson joke in the yeah. It took me completely by surprise, because like I feel like it's been years since I heard like a Michael Jackson joke, right? Like about like a Michael Jackson molestation joke.
He used to put on those jokes a lot.
Yeah, so Cracked Connie says to the babies at one point, like, "You better be quiet and act right, or I'll let Michael Jackson adopt you." Oh God. It threw me off. We were on the watch party, and I truly was just shocked. My jaw was on the floor. But
that's on brand for Passions, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Honestly, it was on brand for 2002. Like, that was a very but yeah, Passions, of course they would make a joke like that. Especially Cracked Connie's supposed to be evil, and like anyway, she manages to hide the babies away, and Cracked Connie, and she gets rid of Reese. Is there anything important that happens in there that you remember?
In the house?
Yeah. With
Reese? Not that I
know. No, nothing. She manages to get rid of him. He is still of the mind that something weird is going on, but there's, whatever. So then Tabitha, once she gets rid of them, she goes to the basement because she's dying to know who that 4th baby is. She's like, "Who is this 4th baby? Whose mommy is this 4th baby?" And she goes to the friends in the basement, and she demands to them to tell her who that damned 4th baby belongs to. They tell her like, if you can't tell whose baby that is, then we're not gonna tell you. You should be able to tell. You of all people should be able to tell. And they say something about well, we'll tell you one thing. That baby's gene pool is based on its parents. That baby's gene pool is like full of evil, and it will bring so much evil and chaos to Harmony.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's Tabitha's baby, y'all. Like,
yeah.
I know I'm probably spoiling this for somebody. I apologize, but I do feel like Passions is being very, very, very heavy-handed to tell us that that's Tabitha's baby. But I think the only reason people wouldn't consider that Tabitha is pregnant is because of her age.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's clear. I mean, they've been dropping enormous hints about that baby being hers.
Yeah, it's not such a big spoiler, and it's all about like how you get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Y'all already saw the night that it happened, so
yeah.
So they won't tell her. They just tell her that baby is derived from complete evil and will cause so much pain and chaos. And then that fourth baby like escapes, and they chase it around town. And again, lots of hijinks, just running here and there, to and fro, Scooby-Doo, in and out of the doors, right?
Yeah.
And she just keeps yelling at the baby, like, "Who's your mommy?" and just running, trying to catch it. But at one point, the baby runs into the book cafe, and this is a great segue because we're gonna go right into fated couples. But she runs into the book cafe where Whitney, TC, Simone, Chad are all there doing their own thing. But the baby runs in and jumps right through Whitney's like stomach, which I think they were trying to kind of, because, well, you know what? I'm not going to spoil that. So, but it seems like they're trying to tell us that Whitney's pregnant, but I'm not going to say whether she is or isn't. But the baby jumps right through her. She kind of feels it, but she doesn't know what it is. She just felt weird. Nobody else saw the baby. Tabitha comes running in the book cafe, just screaming about the baby, frantically chasing around this baby. TC takes her to the side. TC, of all people.
Yeah, I thought that was wild.
It was crazy. He takes her, he's like, "Tabitha, I know you've had a hard time since your little nephew Timmy passed away. I just want to remind you that I'm a grief counselor at the hospital, and maybe you should come by sometime and just so we can just talk, and maybe you just need a friend, and I'd be happy to come by your house." It just felt so odd coming from TC. Also,
that's rich coming from him, right?
Yeah. Since when is he a grief counselor at all? TC. If anybody needs a grief counselor, it is TC. He is still stuck on his father's death, and he has not dealt with not only the loss of his father, but the loss of his career. Right?
Yeah, he's avoided all those issues.
Yeah. So the fact that he's some kind of grief counselor is new. First of all, news to me, and second of all, it is absurd. He needs a grief counselor. He needs help. Like, if he was a grief counselor, I would expect him to at least be more self-aware of the way that he is treating Whitney based on his own grief and his own losses that he has not gotten over. So that was just, I don't know, that was just such an interesting moment. But
it's just like they always throw something in there to just like fool with you.
Yeah. I was like, what? TC's
like, if you haven't watched TC from like episode 1, you would never know, that you would totally believe that.
Yeah. Based on just this episode, you would be like, oh, that's a kind man with a kind, well-adjusted man, and certainly couldn't possibly have any horrible anger issues or hang-ups about his own life, except he does. So anyway, he calms her down for a little bit, but then she sees that baby run out of the cafe, and she bolts out of there. She's like, "Gotta go," and runs after the baby. But that's all with magic this week. You got anything to add? That's all I had.
Yeah, I think Chad mentioned something like Chad OTC mentioned how, oh, it must be tough for her losing Timmy and all, and explaining why she was like, frantic
Yeah.
running out of there. But
Yeah.
that's
They kind
about
of
it.
chalked it up to her grief. Yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing it, but it just provided nothing really.
It never does.
Just comic relief.
It never does. It provided nothing. I will say, of like the magic hijinks that we've had, this one's not on the worst. It's not the worst ones. The worst ones, the ones I really hated, and I'm glad they stopped doing it, was back when Tabitha used to like abuse Timmy and put him in like the blender and put him in like
yeah,
and just put him in like the dishwasher.
For some reason, I vividly remember that podcast. So
I hated
talking
that.
about that. Yeah,
I hated that. And I was like, this serves no purpose. Two, what the hell? He's supposed to be your one ally in this town. Why are you chopping him up?
And magic stuff like you were talking about the baby going through Whitney. Like I would like that to have some kind of repercussion. Maybe she's not feeling well. Maybe the way she's reacting, like we'll later talk about with the Chad and Whitney story. Maybe she reacts a little differently, have a mindset shift. But no, it's just inconsequential. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I wish it was more. I wish magic in general was more impactful to our storylines.
Yeah.
I do, because it could easily have been a very integral part of the show, but it oftentimes turns out to just be, the Greek chorus. Like Tabitha's just telling us what we're already watching, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Initially, that's when I first watched the show before Chad came on. That's what gravitated me to the show, because I always loved horror movies and the sci-fi magic element that was in that. So when I seen like a witch and all of this stuff, all this hocus pocus stuff, I was like, oh, this could be cool. But they never ventured. I mean, maybe the first year Tabitha had more of a storyline, but it's clear like she just serves the purpose of rehashing the storyline.
Yeah, they definitely did more with magic early on.
Yeah.
And and obviously like Hell House is such a big thing, but that wasn't even Tabitha. That was Hecate. Right?
Yeah.
So
and they felt like they needed Hecate. She had more agency than Tabitha, did in any storyline.
Yeah. She actually did more and had more action moving story along, than Tabitha has. Every once in a while, Tabitha will put like a spell book in Kay's way, right? Something, just kind of.
Oh yeah, those are cool. Yeah.
Oh, I do want to say that the reason that Tabitha's like very upset about these babies being out and on the loose, and she's particularly upset about not knowing who this fourth baby is, because she says she has very carefully and meticulously set all of these like all the events in motion to bring these babies into the world, and she only planned for 3. That fourth one might throw her entire plan into chaos. It might throw her entire plan off, and that's why she is really like trying to figure out who this baby is. So they do try to tell us that Tabitha has something to do with any of this, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
She doesn't. Like, if I try to think about it, what does she even have to do with I guess with Kay's baby to an extent, because she has definitely pushed Kay along in her pursuit of Miguel, giving her the spell book and helping her out whenever she sees that Kay is kind of in trouble behind the scenes. She definitely has done that. But like the other 2 babies, what did she even do?
Oh.
I don't think.
Sorry, the kids
is your baby? Do you have a baby in the room?
Yeah, one trying to ruin the podcast.
A magic baby?
Yes, go get her.
That's so sweet. So anyway, we've already talked about magic more than we needed to. Moving on to Fated Couples. We'll start with Theresa, Ethan, Gwen stuff because it's pretty quick, and then we'll do the Chad and Whitney stuff. So We pick up, and remember, Theresa was doing this report for Alistair, and Ethan helped her with it. She gets a phone call from Alistair's assistant, and the assistant kind of makes her think that Alistair is upset with her about this report, like it wasn't good. It's just a trick to kind of make us, the audience, think maybe Theresa's in trouble, and also to make Theresa have some anxiety about her work, right? And that, her plan might not work. So eventually Alistair gets on the phone. But before that, Gwen and Ethan show up to the office and are like, what's going on? She brings them up to speed on, like, I'm waiting to talk to Alistair, but apparently he's upset with my work. He didn't like my work. Ivy comes in as well, and they're all just like sitting there waiting to hear from Alistair. And Gwen is just like, yeah, Alistair. She goes and gets like champagne at one point because she's excited that Theresa, she believes Theresa has failed at her assignment.
Asking her failure.
Yeah, so she's very excited about this. And but when Alistair gets on the phone, he tells Theresa she did a great job. He said, this was great. I'm sending over some notes for you to incorporate into your next report. I want you to send me a second draft of this same report with my notes incorporated. And great. She did a good job. He's fucking with her. That becomes pretty clear. But she doesn't know that, and nobody in the room does. Ivy is the only one who's kind of suspicious. Like, this doesn't seem quite right, but.
And Alistair, man, he's a freaky old man.
Yeah, his assistant.
That one shot where it's like I got pressing needs, and you see him like kind of like touching her legs or whatever.
Yeah, he's like getting it on with his assistant. It's gross. Yeah, and you only ever see his hand, which somehow makes it worse.
But I did like the one clip where you know what she's wearing, and then she lays down their brassiere.
Yeah, she's like getting undressed, and we see her taking off her clothes, but we don't see her naked. Obviously, daytime television people. But yeah, he's on the phone with them in the room. Like, everybody's listening to him on speakerphone. And meanwhile, he's like doing like sex stuff at his office while he's having this conversation. He's a creepy old man, but his little assistant, she was down with it, I guess. So who am I to have a problem with it? So she did a great job, and Ethan congratulates her. He's like, great. See, I knew you could do it. And she says, I never could have done it without your help. Thank you so much. We make a great team, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Then Ethan she says to him, to Ethan, I would love to take you to lunch or something like that to celebrate. And he says, well, I would, but I already promised Gwen that she and we would have lunch today. So I'm booked up, right? So they leave. And Pilar, I forgot Pilar was in the room too.
Yeah.
Pilar comes in and says to Theresa, I'm glad that you did well in your work, but I hope that you see now that you have no chance with Ethan. I hope you finally see that you have no chance with Ethan. And that you should just give up on him. I don't know. I want to like Pilar. I do. I want to like Pilar. I think Pilar is a good person. I think she loves her kids. I think that she really thinks that she is always doing the right thing for her kids and by her kids. But like, I don't know, Theresa just had a big win. Let her have the win.
Yeah.
She wasn't even talking about Ethan. She did not say any, at this moment, she hadn't even said anything about Ethan. It's like, you're bringing it up. You could just let it lie. And maybe, we all know Theresa will never forget about it, but I don't know. I feel like Pilar would be more impactful if she said things at the right time. Like right now is the time to be proud of your daughter and congratulate her on a hard work and a good job. Yeah, a win after she's had so many horrible losses, one right after the other. Let her enjoy this. But she's like, I hope you see now that you have no chance with Ethan. Why? Because he went to lunch with Gwen? Because he went to lunch with Gwen? That doesn't mean I mean, look, I get that Ethan, I would see it, I would be able to see it better if in that moment Theresa was like, see, you and I should be together, Ethan. And then Ethan was like, no, we'll never be together, Theresa. I'm with Gwen and I'm taking her to lunch. And then they left. And then the mom was, and then Pilar was like, see, I hope you see now that you have no chance with Ethan. But that's not what happened at all. And I don't know. I want to like Pilar. I'm sorry, Eric. I want to like her.
Yeah, it's hard for me to like her, to be honest. I mean, just certain things she does. And that's a good point. Like you gotta be on her side. And Gwen and Ivy are both in the room just waiting for her demise, you know what I mean? So like at least be that encouraging voice while she's in there.
Yeah. So whatever. I do understand Pilar's perspective. I do understand her point of view. I understand why she said what she said. I just feel like now wasn't the best time. So anyway.
Not reading the room.
No. But anyway, the next day, Theresa moves into her new office at Crane Industries, and she's contemplating this plan to reinstate Ethan into the family and have him work with her. And then we meet her assistant, Trish, and Trish comes in and tells her like, hey, I'm your assistant. Let me get you some coffee. Theresa's like, no, I can get it myself. And Trish is like, no, that's my job. And, you know, so they are getting acquainted with one another. And then Theresa has a fantasy about how she thinks things are going to go with Ethan, right? Like Ethan shows up to her office with her baby in tow. And he tells her like, you're doing a wonderful job. We make a great team. And then he gets down on one knee and proposes to her. And then she has another fantasy. So yeah, she has this fantasy. She's thinking about how she believes things will go with Ethan. He thanks her for putting him back in charge at Crane, and then he proposes to her in her office. And then later Whitney shows up, and we're gonna get into that, but I'm gonna get through all of the Theresa Ethan stuff first, and then we'll talk about what happens with Whitney. Some stuff happens with Whitney, which we will talk about. But after that, she has yet another fantasy of Ethan proposing to her in her office. I just thought it was funny that she just had like back to this girl. Like, you have a job to do. Do your job. Why are you fantasizing constantly about Ethan?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the same old fantasy. This girl, right now, Ethan is Theresa's special interest, and she cannot stop thinking about him. That's like throughout the show. Theresa's just so obsessed with Ethan that she is constantly like maladaptive daydreaming about him.
Yeah.
Which I think, actually, I kind of think that's part of the reason one of the reasons I like her. Because one of the things I do is I maladaptive daydream is like a hobby. Right?
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Does anybody else do that? Like,
nah, I do that all the time. Like, I gotta
create
stop
scenarios in my mind of like these amazing things that could happen in my life that I would like to happen in my life. And I will like live in that daydream for hours. So I can relate. Maybe I'm a lovable lunatic too.
That's why you could identify with her. Right?
That's why I can kind of identify. That's my girl, but I do wish she would, I don't know, get a hobby.
It's funny because like during this rewatch, I didn't like her at all, but this is the point where I'm starting to like her now. You know what I mean? And you'll see like this episode, she does a couple of things that I like a lot. Being there for Whitney, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. I like seeing when she's like being a good friend to her.
Yeah.
And really has her back because she's going to need it.
I think so. Like last week, we talked about how one of the reasons I don't like Antonio is because every single conversation is about Sheridan, and everything he has to say is any conversation he has with anybody is about Sheridan. And I think they could have easily done that with Theresa, but I do love and appreciate when she does do other things. Like she does talk to Whitney about Whitney, right? And is there for Whitney. And so every conversation isn't about Ethan, and I can't.
Yeah, I like when it switches a bit.
Yeah. So we'll come back to what's going on with her and Whitney, but right now we're going to talk about where Ethan and Gwen are. They go off, they have lunch together, they're spending the day together. Gwen's acting a little insecure about her time with Ethan right now. Like at one point, it's almost like she's testing him because she says, "I'm sure you would rather be helping Theresa with some report for Crane," and he assures her, "No, I want to be here with you, Gwen. I want to be here with you, having lunch. I'd much rather be spending time with who," he says, "what man wouldn't want to spend time with a beautiful woman?" I do want to say, and sometimes I do nitpick, but I do want to say the language Ethan uses with Gwen, sometimes he's like tiptoeing around the "I love you." Like that was a great moment for him to say, "No, Gwen, I love you and I want to be with you and I'd rather be with you right now." But instead, he tells her, "What man wouldn't want to have lunch with a beautiful woman?"
He doesn't really love her. I feel like he's doing it out of like, I guess, duty. What's the word?
I think
it's not for good reasons.
No, they're bad reasons. All his reasons are bad. I think I do believe that Ethan loves Gwen. I don't believe he's passionately in love with her.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was going to say.
I think he loves her the way you love an old friend.
Companionate love. And with Theresa and Ethan, it's more like physiological love. Because, like, if you look at that behavior of last week, I'm sorry, that 9, 10 o'clock, that's a cutoff to be with your loved one. Meanwhile, he's up till 2 a.m. in the morning. Nah, you gotta go.
And he woke up out of his sleep thinking about to go to be with Theresa and help her with something, right? He loves her. There's no denying that he loves Theresa. Yeah, I honestly, I really kind of hate this for Gwen. I do, because she clearly is insecure and he is not giving her any reason to feel more secure in this relationship that he's telling her he wants with her. But anyway,
one other thing is they're basically bonding under her nose. You know what I mean? And that's a tough pill to swallow right there.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it at least 25 times. Gwen needs to move out of that house and insist that Ethan do the same.
Yeah.
You have to put your foot down. She has to put her foot down with Ethan and say, "We can't live in this house. We need to move out." Over. And it's not unreasonable to say. It's not unreasonable to say, "I don't want to live in the house with your ex-fiance who you left me for the night before our wedding."
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to be that close to want their significant other to be that close to an ex.
I wouldn't even want to be living in an apartment or a building with somebody who, like, if my husband dated them in the 8th grade, I don't want any parts of it. You know what I mean? Like, let alone you almost married this person. And this is the person you left me for.
And it's just so funny, the part where Ivy is kind of give her like a pep talk. It's like, the fact that you're giving me a pep talk means I don't have them. And you're trying to motivate me to keep going.
Mm-hmm. You know? At one point, Ivy tells Gwen, when Theresa does well on her report, Ivy says to Gwen, "Don't worry, this is just a minor setback. This is yeah. And we were joking that that's how she feels about Grace and Sam's marriage. That it's just a 20-year minor setback. Yeah. A minor 20-year setback. But Gwen, frankly, deserves better.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish she wanted better for herself, but she doesn't.
Yeah, she's definitely not paying attention to her wants.
Yeah. So they have a conversation where Ethan says, "Wow, this time of year," because if y'all don't know, it is now fall in Harmony. They're making that abundantly clear. It's autumn, fall, and it's so beautiful. Anyway, he says, "Oh, this time of year, the crisp air, it always reminds me of when we were in college." And then he says, "I thought we'd be married by now." Now, Gwen then responds and says, well, we would be if I had said yes when you asked me. Instead, I worried about why you were asking me, but that doesn't matter. I said no, and it was probably the biggest mistake of my life. You know, she says, to worry about the perfect time to get married, it's just crazy. So many things can get in the way. If two people really love each other, they should just do it. I hated this. What the fuck do you mean, Gwen? Why are you putting the blame for the demise of y'all's relationship on yourself? This man left you the night before your wedding. Yes, you would be married to him had he not cheated on you and left you the night before your wedding. So what are you saying? If I had said yes the first time, we would be married. I'm not so sure about that, sweetheart. I'm not so sure about it. Because the reason y'all aren't together is because he left you for Theresa.
Yeah.
It's not anything you did. I hated that. I actually felt bad for Gwen. Like I don't know if the writers are doing this on purpose.
You're doing it on purpose.
But what it signals to me is that Gwen has terrible self-esteem and very, very low self-image. She does not think anything of herself. And I hate that for her. I hate it.
But that's not consistent with the character they've written for Liza, though, right? Because Liza she seems like she's very sure of herself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's not this.
Yeah. She's not a shrinking violet. Yeah, that's for sure. And so, I mean, it could be Natalie's characterization, but I think it is definitely the writing. Like, this specific speech about I'm the reason that we are not married. It's my fault that we're not married. And then Ethan doesn't ever acknowledge, he doesn't say, like, actually, Gwen, you shouldn't put that on yourself. Actually, no, don't take the blame on yourself. It was me. It was my fault. He doesn't say that. He just tells her, like, well, that was the past and the worst is behind us. We're going to be happy from now on. Let me tell y'all, oh, brother, this guy stinks. I can't stand it. I really can't stand it. It really, really rubbed me all the wrong ways. I could not believe they had written that for Gwen. And we're just leaving out and rewriting the fact that Ethan left her high and dry the night before their wedding. Shit. And she's telling him, it's my fault. I'm sorry. I should have said yes. This is all my fault. We would be married. Ugh.
Good place for an unnecessary flashback, right?
Yes.
Like they like to do.
Truly. Yeah. Show us what really happened. You don't need to show me. It is burned in my brain. Yeah. It is imprinted on my DNA.
We've all built core memories from those episodes, you know?
Yeah. Specifically that like turn is so important to the story. The fact that Ethan chose Theresa over Gwen is so incredibly important to the story. So I don't know, it's almost like Gwen is signaling to Ethan, like, I absolve you of everything. You have no blame in what happened. It's all my fault. I hated it.
But isn't that pick me girl thing that people are saying now?
Yeah, I guess. But see, that's the thing. Gwen and Theresa are both pick-me's for sure. I mean, that's their whole personality. Pick me, Ethan. No, pick me, Ethan. No, pick me, Ethan. Like, that's all they do for 10 damn years.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go to a jewelry store because Gwen, something is going on with her watch. It's like broken or something. So she's like, I want to go to the jewelry store and get this fixed. They go to the jewelry store and then they look at the rings and like, oh, wow, these rings are so beautiful. And then Gwen says, I want you to know I'm not fishing for a ring here. And it just gets very awkward. Like, because she's like, I'm not trying to make you propose to me. And Ethan's like, no, I know you would never do something so underhanded.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then the jeweler comes back and is like, it's going to take about a half an hour to repair your watch. And Gwen says, oh, well, I have a meeting to get to. it can't take that long. If you had a meeting to get to that you couldn't spare 30 minutes, why
Yeah.
did you even bother going into the jewelry store in the first place?
That's why I thought it was kind of planned that she took him in there.
Yeah, they gave us no real indication that it was planned. So I'm gonna go with it wasn't.
Yeah.
That she wasn't really fishing for a ring. I don't know. I do think they kind of leave it up to interpretation. That's what I think is what
Yeah.
it is.
Because after all of that bonding that Ethan had with Teresa, I would think you would try to make your own move and insinuate something too. But
I think her move was
yeah.
telling him she's the reason that they are
Oh
broken
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I think
That's
that was
true
her
too.
move.
Yeah. Damn.
Terrible move.
That ain't working out.
Terrible. The judges give it 0 stars. So the jeweler says it's going to be in half an hour. Gwen says, I got a meeting to get to. Ethan tells her, you know what? I'll wait for it. I'll stay here and wait for it. And so she leaves and he stays behind. And outside, she glares into the window and looks at Ethan and says, if Ethan asks me to marry him again, I won't hesitate for a second. There is no way I'm going to let Theresa take him away from me again. No way. Because this rivalry between Gwen and Theresa is not about Ethan.
Yeah.
It is not about Ethan. Theresa definitely I do think Theresa wants Ethan way more than Gwen really wants Ethan. I truly believe Gwen just fucking hates Theresa and really does not want Ethan with Theresa. So if as long as Ethan is with her, he can't be with Theresa. I do. I know that there's love there, but I don't know. Her saying like, I'm not going to let Theresa take him away from me again. No way. And it's like, you didn't even mention that shit to Ethan. That the reason y'all broke up is because of Theresa. You didn't even bring her up. Right? I don't know. So, meanwhile, inside, Ethan is looking at the engagement rings and has decided he wants to buy one. Why? And I want y'all to know, this is not an anti-Gwen. This is not an anti-Gwen situation where I'm like, he shouldn't marry her. He shouldn't be marrying anybody. And also, with what money is he going to buy diamond ring?
Yeah.
With what money?
Because he has no job, right?
He has no job. He is unemployed. I have yet to see him. I've said this before. His only client is his mother, and I don't know if she's paying him.
That didn't work out too well.
Yeah, I don't know if she's even paying him. He doesn't have any clients. We never see him doing any job. We never see him doing any work. Like, he's not even doing odd jobs. So I don't know where he thinks he has the money to buy, but apparently he does. Whatever. He buys a ring. But before he manages to buy the ring, the nosy sales lady has a lot to say.
I thought that was, pretty bold of her.
I love these very random one-off character interactions with these random nosy townies. So this lady, I don't know if she gave us her name or not. Mona, maybe? Was that Mona?
I don't know.
One of the random people in the show this week was Mona. Oh, it was the random lady at the inn with Sheridan and Louise. Her name was Mona. This lady, we don't get her name.
I just call her the jeweler.
Yeah, the jeweler. So this jeweler, she tells Ethan, I recognize you. You were in here before. You bought a ring for another woman before, a different woman. And he tells her, yeah, well, that relationship didn't work out. He's like, really? She's like, what? Really? I used to see y'all around town. That your love was so strong. It's rare. It's so rare to see a love that strong. And then she goes on to say, it's not my place, but before you think about getting engaged and marrying another woman, maybe you need to look deep into your heart. You need to be absolutely certain that you're over Theresa. And she says, not that I wouldn't like to make a sale, but you need to take your time and there's no rush. Don't rush into this. She says, I don't think you're ready to make a decision this big. Me, this lady who just met you for the second time, and we've met once before, I guess. But I don't think you're ready to make a decision this big. Now, here's the thing. Is this lady being fucking nosy and way out of line?
Being
Absolutely.
messy.
Is she correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's the only person giving him sage advice. You know. Well, Julian was too a couple episodes ago, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's some good advice for him.
Yeah.
He's rushing into these things.
He is rushing into this. He is absolutely rushing into this, and he rushed into his engagement with Theresa. This is what he does, right? He didn't rush into his engagement with Gwen the first time, right? They had been together for a long time.
Yeah.
But once he broke up with Gwen, it wasn't very long before he was proposing to Theresa. And now he's broken up with Theresa, just got back together with Gwen, clearly isn't over Theresa. Obviously isn't over Theresa, refuses to move out of her house.
Yeah.
And is ready to propose to Gwen. And so I don't know. This lady does not want to sell him a ring. She's like, he's like, am I to believe that you're refusing to sell me a ring? And she says, well, I just don't think you're ready to make a commitment to another woman yet. The kind of love you shared with Theresa doesn't die that easily. And frankly, I doubt it will ever die. Like, she's out of line. She definitely has overstepped, but I don't think she's entirely wrong.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. It was funny.
It was funny. I love these little random interactions with random, like, one-off townspeople. But Ethan tells her, I really appreciate your concern and I understand what you're saying, but I know what I want and I know how I feel, and I'm in love with that woman that was in here earlier.
Is he saying that to himself? Is he trying to convince himself?
No, it's just so funny because I want to be clear. Ethan didn't say it like I just said it, right? He didn't say like that woman. It's just, and I've told this story on the podcast before, but that woman is exactly how my grandma and like my aunts refer to my dad's ex-wife. That woman, and like it is never a nice. It is never in a nice tone. It's never about anything good. Sure. They will not use her name. They call her that woman. That woman. Anyway, so when he said that, it cracked me up. It's not even Ethan did not characterize it that way, but he says,
"Nah," but I totally felt that. Though.
It made me laugh. I'm in love with that woman that was in here earlier, and I want to marry her, and nothing can change that. So if you'd please, I'd like to see that ring. So he buys a ring for Gwen, obviously. Obviously, Theresa, the ring is for Gwen. So Ethan goes over to Crane. Now, I need to say this. When Trish, the assistant, Theresa's assistant, showed up, she told Theresa, the person whose office this was before is coming today to pick up the last of their things. I'm like, I don't know whose office this is. I was like, that's weird. She made note of it like 3 times. I was like, whose office could this be? Y'all, it's Ethan's office, which makes no goddamn sense. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense that Ethan still has anything left at Crane Industries to clean out.
Yeah, because that episode, I mean, I'm pretty sure he cleaned out everything. I remember that vividly.
Not only that, he's been fired for over a year, at least. Yeah, at least. He's been fired for at least a year. If he hadn't come and gotten his things by now, they would have thrown them out.
Maybe in Passion Times, that was 5 weeks ago.
Right, like apparently, but no, I would be able to say it that, but Theresa had a whole ass baby.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So 9 months definitely passed.
We know there's at least the amount of time from the pregnancy, right?
Yeah.
So, he hasn't been at Crane for so long. It doesn't make any sense that they have not used this office since he left. And or that he just left stuff there and it's just now getting around to picking it up, even though we saw him go to the office to clean out his office when he became a Bennett and not a Crane, right?
Yeah.
So whatever. He
Stupid little.
goes to
Yeah.
Crane to pick up the last of his things at his old office, which happens to be Theresa's new office. And she's sitting there. And when he comes in, she's, of course, happy to see him. And then he walks in and starts reminiscing about his time at Crane and how much he loved it and how much he loved doing the work. And he says, I knew I missed working here. I just didn't realize how much until now. Being here in this office again and going through these old files, like, why do you have access to old files at Crane? You do not work here. This is confidential shit. Why should he have access to old files? Anyway, he says, going through these old files, I want this again, Theresa. I want to be a part of something big and important. I want to get back to the things that I lost in life. I want to get back all the things I lost in life. That's what he says. All of them. Why the fuck would you say that to Theresa's crazy ass?
Yeah, I know. Raise her antennas up. But her plan seems to work. If her plan is to try to get him back into the Korean industry, it's definitely working.
She knew what he wanted. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I want to say this. People talk about Theresa being scheming and being manipulative, and this is like a manipulation that she is getting this job at Crane just so she can get Ethan back, so that she can give Ethan his job back, and then he will want to be with her again, right? She knew what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a manipulation? I know what you want and I give it to you.
See, but isn't that the stereotype? Like, men that strategize to get what they want, nothing. You hear crickets. But women that strategize to get what they want, it's manipulative. It's all this stuff.
She's a schemer.
Yeah,
she's a
schemer. I mean, you just want her to lay dormant and not go for the things she wants. Like, that's crazy.
Exactly. And what Theresa is doing isn't that bad. Giving him a job, the man needs a job.
Yeah.
He needs a job. How Gwen should be thanking her for giving him a job so he can afford to pay for her stupid fucking ring.
Exactly.
But I digress. I just want to make note that Ethan comes in, makes that speech to Theresa, and a light bulb goes off in my head. Oh, Theresa knew more than we, the viewers, even knew about Ethan, right? Because we had not really gotten any indication that Ethan loved this job so much until now. This is the first time I'm really hearing about him really loving the work at Crane and loving being a Crane. For the longest time, it seemed like he was like more upset, which of course you would be, about like losing his identity as a Crane. But that he came to terms with the fact that like at least I don't have to like be underhanded like the rest of them anymore, right? So but Theresa knew she's been saying that, and I myself on the podcast was like, this is weird. I haven't gotten any indication that Ethan loved this job so much, but now he comes in, he makes this speech, and Theresa is vindicated for all of us, because we all were like, she's making this up. This is kind of like, what makes you think that Ethan wants to be a Crane again? But he's saying, I want to get back the things I lost in my life, all of them. Now Theresa takes this to mean he wants to get her back. No, sweetie, no. But you know what? A win is a win, I guess. She was right about some of it.
He makes those quick leaps, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got on my the new Lovable Lunatic shirt today. I had to, I think I said this last week, but I had to take the old one down. But I like
as good as the other one.
It's not quite as good. I love that one of her just screaming, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. I like that picture.
But I like these too.
Yeah.
But yeah, they wouldn't I think because that picture actually came from an episode of the show is why it got flagged. Anyway, anyway, Ethan, oh my God. Apparently he's supposed to be coming to pick up a few things, but then he takes off his jacket and is like, I gotta go get some boxes. Like he's moving a bunch of shit out of here. So he takes off his jacket, hands it to Theresa's like, can you hang on to this for her? She's like, oh, sure, great. And she grabs his jacket. He leaves to go get boxes, because apparently he has boxes and boxes of shit he needs to take out of here. And she immediately, she feels something in the pocket, and she goes in the man's pocket, pulls out a ring box, sees the ring, immediately believes it's for her.
Yeah.
What? What, Teresa, baby girl,
I
baby
mean, she's
girl?
a lovable lunatic. It's not a hard grasp, right?
Yeah,
For her.
she's an absolute she's my lovable lunatic. Not everybody
She
loves her,
was
but
she was just
girl,
daydreaming about him, so she's still off of that.
yeah, she thinks that the ring in her pocket is in his pocket is for her, even though he has told her multiple times at this point, we're not gonna be together. I'm with Gwen. I'm with Gwen. I'm with Gwen. What leads you to think that this is your ring? So now let's talk about Chad and Whitney, because that's really all there is with Theresa and Ethan right now, until
Okay.
we talk about when they come into Chad and Whitney's story. So we pick up with this story where Whitney and TC are coming to the book cafe from a tennis practice, and TC is very disappointed in Whitney, saying that she wasn't focused on her tennis this morning. And he tells her, you're never gonna make the finals unless you stop being so distracted. And she's of course, we know why she's distracted. She's distracted because she broke up with Chad last night, or Chad broke up with her. Um, and but then TC says, well, honey, I know why you're distracted. He does not. He says you're just tired from the party last night, which is closer. You know what? For the times that TC kind of answers his own little questions,
Yeah,
this was the
it
most,
made
like, one of
sense.
the more reasonable times for him to be like, "Oh, you're tired from the party last night," and he's not completely wrong. It is the events of the party last night that have her distracted. So
And the car crash with Simone as well, right?
yeah,
He mentions that.
yeah, and then he just starts bringing up his deceased father once again and saying he would be so proud of the tennis career that you're going to have. And at one point they look inside, see Chad and Simone like talking to each other, and TC turns back to her and he says, you know what, you just let your sister have the boys because you are going to have a historic career in tennis. uh, I have to play tennis and never have a boyfriend.
Or have
uh,
any type of life.
I don't I really don't like TC.
Nah.
Um, so meanwhile inside, Simone is trying her best to help Chad, right? Like, he's working at the book cafe and he's moving boxes and just he's trying to keep himself busy. It seemed like to me he was like staying busy, busy, busy. And
Yeah.
so she's being a real chatty Cathy and trying to help him, but she keeps talking about like, oh, Chad, it's the most unnatural fucking dialogue.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. She's like, Chad, I'm so glad that you fell in love with me and not Whitney. And it's crazy because I really thought maybe you did, but that was just because of Kay telling me that, and everybody in town saying, get a clue, Simone, figure it out, Simone. But you told them last night how you love me and not Whitney. No, he never told you
Yeah,
he loved you.
he never made that claim. That was Whitney.
Yeah. Chad never once said that he loved her. He never once said that he was not in love with Whitney. But
Hmm.
that's how she has taken the events of the night, right? Which, how else would she take it if Chad won't
Yeah.
speak up for himself?
Yeah, that's true. She's
He's not,
just filling in the gap.
if I say to you, you know, Garentch, it is so wonderful that you are deeply and madly in love with me, and then you don't say anything. You don't say, "Hey,
Yeah,
Latara, hey, Latara." What else am I supposed to think other than he must agree,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, that's crazy. Like,
But, but you see that, like I think I mentioned this before, but the body language.
mm,
Like, she's saying this stuff about like, oh yeah, at one point I did think, Whitney is a cute girl, and she doesn't see like he's kind of blocking from seeing any emotion or anything like that. A lot of things that was said, and I'm just
yeah.
like, buy your vow.
By a vowel, she ignores the body language. She does the Antonio thing, which she's
Yeah,
not as bad about it as Antonio is. Oh my
oh
God, when
yeah,
we get there, this week was
yeah. I got a lot about
insane.
that.
But yes, she kind of ignores. She only cares about what she wants to be happening, right?
Mhm.
What she wants to be true is that Chad is in love with her, and not in love with Whitney. And as long as he does not say the words, it doesn't matter how physically uncomfortable he gets when she talks about Whitney. It doesn't matter. None of it matters except what he says to her. Your babies again?
Yeah. I think
none of it matters except for what he says to her. And he's not saying anything to her.
Yeah, he's just being withdrawn and
he's not saying anything to her. And you would think she would get a clue from that at least. But
yeah,
on to Simone's credit, like in defense of Simone, Chad is not setting her straight in any way. He's not telling her
something.
He's not saying anything. At the very least, he could tell her, you know, Simone, I think you are more in this relationship than I am. Like, I'm not really interested in being in a relationship right now. Like, even if he wanted to kind of just turn it away from being about Whitney and just saying, like, you know, I made a mistake. If he wants to try to spare Simone's feelings, he can say, I made a mistake. You know, I shouldn't have led you on for so long when I don't want anything really serious, right? But he's not saying anything, so she's just taking that to mean that he loves her. Anyway, Simone and Chad keep kind of talking about Whitney. Then Whitney and TC come into the coffee shop, and Whitney tries to talk to Chad, but Chad will not talk to her. He's like, he tells her again, it's over between us, Whitney. You made your choice and it's over. He tells her they have nothing further to discuss. She's very upset. She's sad. This is when Tabitha comes in, makes a whole commotion. And after the Tabitha commotion, Simone finds a CD that's one of Chad's like original songs, and she puts it in the player. Like, she's like, this will bring up the mood in here. Everybody's gonna love this. She plays the song. It turns out it's a song that he wrote for Whitney, and Whitney is singing the song. Nobody recognizes that it's Whitney's singing voice. I thought that was so odd that TC didn't say, but I guess he doesn't even recognize his own wife's singing voice.
He's so aloof, so he's not understanding.
Yeah. he doesn't say anything. Simone doesn't recognize it as Whitney's voice. And she's unsuspecting about who this song's about. And she's like, this is such a great song, Chad. Whoever wrote this song must have been seriously in love with the singer. And it's just like, it's Chad's. Did she not know it was Chad's CD? Like, that it was his song? I was actually really confused about this, because I thought she put it in because she knew it was Chad's music. I think she just found it.
Okay. Yeah, I think she just found it and she was like, oh, I'll put this on.
Cause she was like, this will bring up the mood. But you've never even heard it. You don't even know.
Yeah.
It could have been some System of a Down. It could have been, it could have been anything on that CD.
The heavy metal.
Yeah, wake up.
I did like that
I don't
song,
know the words.
Even though I'm not really a heavy metal guy. I'm not
a big heavy metal person, but yeah, I was into a little chop suey.
Yeah,
for sure. And Aerials, I used to like that song by System of a Down. But anyway, this is when Liz shows up to the book cafe. Liz is in town, y'all. Liz has made it to Harmony.
One of my favorite characters too.
Remember that she got a phone call from Diana, a frantic phone call from Diana, telling her, I can't tell you why, but I need you to come to Harmony. It's very, very important. And so Liz doesn't even know that Diana is Sheridan. Liz doesn't know anything. All she knows is that she needs to get to Harmony. And then when she gets there, this pissed me off. When she gets there, she tries to call Diana, tries to call Antonio. Both of their cell phones, like, they have like changed their numbers or something. She was like, these numbers are out of service. So you called me, told me to come here, and now I don't even know how to get in touch with you. So that's why she goes to the book cafe. She's like, I know a place in town where I can find out where they are. And so she goes to the book cafe.
Because she used to live in Harmony before, right?
Right. She knows about, they allude to her knowing more about Harmony than for some reason, and we don't know why.
Yeah, they
Um,
allude to it for
yeah,
sure.
they allude to her having a past in Harmony. So she gets to the book cafe, walks in, immediately clocks how upset Whitney is. No,
Yeah,
Simone's not clocking it. TC's not clocking it. Only this stranger from a world away walks in, sees Whitney, can see the pain in her face, walks over to her and says, I could see how you were looking at that couple over there, and I just want to share some advice with you.
yeah,
And she says, you look so sad. She says it like 3 times. You just look so sad. And it's crazy that TC, her own father, is ignoring how sad Whitney looks. She's looking so sad and dejected that a complete stranger feels the need to walk over to her and give her a pep talk and tell her
yeah.
it gets better. Please don't hurt yourself. Like she really I don't know. It's just so interesting that TC and Simone, her actual family members, are just ignoring her outward expression of her feelings. Like you can see it all over her face. She's upset about something.
Yeah.
Obviously, they think it's tennis, I guess.
But I mean, both TC and Simone are so obsessed on whatever they want that I mean, it makes sense that they would like not pick up on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think that it's egregious
It's
that they don't pick
yeah,
up
it
on it.
is. But passion has a lot of implausible moments.
Yeah.
That is
I,
one thing I've learned.
True. That's true. So Liz tells her this anecdote. She tells her, I was just remembering a friend of mine. She was really in love with this guy, but she never told him that she loved him. And before she knew it, he was in love with someone else. And she always regretted that she hadn't gone to him sooner and told him how she felt, how she really loved him and wanted to be with him. And she says, but I think that if she had gone to him and had been open and honest, that then they might have had a great relationship and that he would be with her now and she wouldn't be alone. Now, obviously, Liz is like talking about herself with Antonio.
Mhm.
They are not in the same situation. Like, Whitney is in love with Chad. She has clearly told him she loves him. Chad
Yeah.
also has reciprocated those feelings. But the caveat is she needs to be honest. The person she's supposed to be being honest with is Simone, right? And so she hears this story and she is like, thank you so much for this
Yeah.
boost of confidence. And she decides she's gonna walk over to the counter and speak to Chad, right? Like, Chad, I really need to talk to you. And at this point, Simone is gushing about this song that is Whitney singing and that Chad wrote for Whitney, and she's gushing about how beautiful it is and all. There's so much love in this song and blah blah blah, and this is really great. And then Chad takes the CD out of the CD player,
Yeah.
throws it in the trash, and says, "This was just a waste of time." A complete and total waste of time. It's over. Finished for good. He throws it in the garbage. But later he secretly pulls it out. So when she heard him say that and threw it in the garbage, it made her stop in her tracks. It hurt her feelings really, really bad, understandably so. And she left without telling the truth or telling Chad how she was feeling. But once she left, he secretly pulled it out of the garbage. Whatever. So Whitney runs to Theresa to tell Theresa about her issues, her problems. So she visits Theresa at Crane. And when she gets there, Theresa is like, Whitney, you're never going to believe it. Ethan bought an engagement ring for me. And Whitney like grabs the ring, walks across the room. She's like, I don't have time for this nonsense.
Yeah.
I need you now I need this to be about me right now, basically. And she tells her everything that's going on between her and Chad, and about Simone in the car and her dad and the tennis and her grandfather that she never met, does not know this man, don't owe that man anything. Tells her all about that. Tells her about how Chad threw the CD in the garbage along with their love, and that's what she says. She's crying. She's really upset. I will say, Brooke Kerr, the actress who plays Whitney, did
Pretty
such a
well.
great job this week.
Yeah.
She definitely pulled at my heartstrings a lot.
Yeah. Remember when we kept talking about identifying which character you identify with?
Hmm.
This is me.
Whitney.
Yeah. I just know because remember we were talking about the Enneagram and stuff. Like I've
Hmm.
been throughout the years, I've been like more and more into it because like it's like a starting point for me when I'm writing. Like I write scripts,
Hmm.
so it's like a starting point for me in forming characters. And I'm looking at the Type 9 Peacemaker, and I'm like, wow, this is all the things like we kind of fall asleep to our wants and needs and want to create this harmony with amongst our families and all that other stuff, and there's a whole bunch of stuff like
Oh, the peacemaker. See, I know very little
yeah.
about Enneagrams.
Avoid conflict and tension, um
Yeah.
to preserve things as they are, and that it's a lot of the same things that we've seen here. Like she's more of an agent for servicing TC's needs than anything else. And
Yeah.
for me, I've been in situations like that where like I'm in a group setting and I'm like, yeah, I gotta be the wingman for this guy, you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
something like that. So I definitely identified with everything she was going through.
Yeah, actually I'm gonna read this Enneagram Type
Yeah,
9
go ahead.
brief because it does describe Whitney really well. I think it says Enneagram Type 9s are accepting, trusting, and stable. They are usually creative, optimistic, and supportive, but can also be too willing to go along with others to keep the peace. They want everything to go smoothly and be without conflict, but they can also tend to be complacent, simplifying problems and minimizing anything upsetting. They typically have problems with inertia and stubbornness. At their
Sloth.
best, indomitable and all embracing, they are able to bring people together and heal conflicts. I do think this is a really good
I thought
how do
so.
you know that Whitney how did you know that Whitney was a 9? You just decided? You like
How did I? Well, mostly with these scenes, because I remember we spoke about it through text or whatever, and I was
mhm.
like, wow, I really felt it. You know what I mean? Learning more about yourself and realizing your flaws and stuff like it, it's tough. You know what I mean? So when I saw that in her, I was like, yeah, I've been in a situation like that. I totally see where she's coming from.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's interesting.
and
I'm gonna have to do mine. Are they like do you have like a preferred test or like site that you think
I don't even, to be honest, I've watched so many YouTube videos and then it just clicked for me. Like it was just like
you were just
a
like
lot.
that's
I
me?
started like reflecting on a lot of stuff that happened in my life. I was like, oh, that's why that happened. And there's another thing where there's wings, which is a whole different thing. And
I didn't.
I'm a 9 wing 8, right? So like I'll be complacent and be chilling out. And as soon as like this a triggering thing happens, that's when I'll take action. For instance,
Oh.
like when I procrastinate, you know what I mean, or stuff or something like that, or if somebody is weaker is getting taken advantage of,
Mhm.
I'll stand up for that person, but I won't stand up for me.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'll
Yeah.
stand up for that person.
And I do think that's a very Whitney thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Garentch and Whitney, type 9s. But she comes to Theresa with her woes, right, about Chad.
Mhm.
And this was crazy. I actually thought it was some kind of weird like fantasy or like a weird like I didn't even think it was real because she's telling Whitney about what happened with Chad and then Chad just bursts in and is like, "That's a lie, Whitney. You're
Yeah.
lying. You're the one who ended our relationship. How did you get past security? What
I
are you
know.
doing here?" Like
I laughed hard as hell about that because it came out of nowhere.
it came out of absolutely nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck is Chad doing here?
Yeah, because the
Later we
camera's
find out later we find out that Chad is at Crane to help Ethan get stuff out of his office, which I've already complained about. Why is there so much stuff that
yeah.
we need 2 men to get it out of his office and he hasn't been at this job for a year? But whatever. But that's why he's there. But I was just flabbergasted when he
Yeah.
burst in. You're lying, Whitney. Okay, relax, bro.
There's more stuff that goes on. Like he's just so reactive in these episodes, man.
Yeah, he says, who finished us?
Tone it
You.
down.
Our relationship was over when you lied to your mother, your father, and Simone and told them that you didn't love me. More accurately, you told them that you only loved tennis. You couldn't even say my name. Say my name, say my name. You couldn't even say my name. And Whitney's like, I had no choice. And he says, yes, you did. You just didn't choose me. He's not wrong there.
Yeah.
Like he's not. I get Chad's point of view. I do. I really do. I just feel like Chad is more angry than I don't know. He's playing it a little more angry than hurt. I feel like the hurt should win out a little bit more.
He's basically punishing her for taking that stance, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and my thing is Chad loves Whitney, has been eating up her little crumbs for years at this point. And for him to like so quickly switch to being truly like pissed off at her, angry is over. It just, I don't know, it didn't feel correct to me. And again, I feel like it's partially
characterization.
It's partially characterization, but it also is partially like what they have written. Like him coming in hot, calling her a liar. I just feel like our old Chad never would have done that.
I don't ever remember Don Swabby handling him like that. Like he'll sulk a little bit and maybe say some passive aggressive stuff.
Yeah.
But it'll be a limit, right?
Yes. It's far more passive aggressive than aggressive anytime he has an issue with Whitney. Yeah. And so they've made it a little bit more a little angrier than I wanted it to be, because he's always been pretty like chill and gentle with Whitney.
Yeah.
We've definitely seen him lose his temper, but I also feel like early on they had him as like this super, super angry black man. But then they developed him a little bit more. And and he mellowed out.
And that's probably thanks to him, right? Like talking to the directors and stuff like that about the role.
Yeah, I think so. So maybe they got rid of Don and was like, let's get somebody in here who will do the angry black man thing.
Right? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So he tells her, you made your choice, you didn't choose me. Theresa, she tries to calm them both down because Whitney's really upset. Like she's hurt, obviously. Chad's like angry. But then they start, Whitney and Chad start arguing back and forth about TC's dream. And they go in circles about Whitney saying, you don't understand. I can't let my dad down. Chad saying, so your dad's dream is more important than our love. And eventually Theresa kind of stops them and says, this is crazy. The two of you love each other. You're meant to be together, just like me and Ethan. Of course, she had to sprinkle that in there.
I hated that.
I did too.
I was like, keep yourself out of it. This is nothing like your situation.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with you. And you and Ethan anyway. But she sprinkles in, you're meant to be together, just like me and Ethan. And then Chad very angrily retorts to her, if you still believe that, Theresa, you're deluded. And then he says to her, he made it clear that you guys couldn't be together. And Theresa says, well, he loves me. And Chad says, well, sometimes love just isn't enough. But Theresa says, oh, yes, it is. And you and Whitney will be together. And so will Ethan and I. It's fate. Girl, okay, but
it's so stubbornly optimistic. Yeah, it's just too much for me.
Yeah, it's just interesting. It is interesting the switch that Chad has made on this. The way that Theresa is talking is the way that he typically talks about love. That's how he.
Yeah, you're right. They kind of connected on a lot of those talks before in earlier episodes. I do remember.
He often has said to Ethan like, You sure you can't work it out with Theresa? I can tell you really love her. And love is so important. And do you want to really walk away from this love? Do you really think you can live your life without her? Right. And so it's very interesting that he's not hearing that same kind of rhetoric from Theresa. He doesn't want to hear it. He gets very frustrated and actually leaves, and then Whitney chases after him, and they have a private conversation and they argue about whose fault it is that they're in this rocky space right now. She brings up the fact that she was ready to like talk to him again at the book cafe, but then she saw him throw the CD in the garbage, and he says, well, did you see me take it out? No, I didn't see you take it out. As if that's supposed to make her feel better about what he said about their love and throwing the thing in the trash in the first fucking place.
It's almost like they're vilifying him now, right? It's like he's not that level, and that's why I just totally was out on Chad after that. He no longer became my favorite character.
They've turned him into a jerk. He's like overnight. He has started. He like truly overnight. He's a jerk. He's like, did you see me take it out of the trash? He says that song just stirred all kinds of emotions that I had for you, Whitney, and as mad as I was, I just couldn't let that go. Well, I didn't see that. All I saw was you say that it's garbage and our love is trash and our love is over, and to truly throw it into a pile of coffee grounds and leftover moldy muffins and shit. So no, I didn't see that. And then he says, I still love you, Whitney, and I want to be together. I'm just tired of all this stuff. Again, it's the delivery. I'm going to give y'all the delivery because I feel like the way
Chad.
Yes, because I feel like our first Don, our first Chad could have taken these exact same lines and I would not have been as annoyed with him, and I would not have felt like he was being a jerk. Like Don would have said, I still love you, Whitney, and I want to be together. I'm just tired of all of this. The way this whole thing has been drawn out, first with Simone, now not being able to tell her the truth, and now with your dad and your grandfather and what they want for you. He would have been gentler. But this new Chad was like, I'm just tired of all this stuff. The way this whole thing has been drawn out, first with Simone not being able to tell her the truth, and now with your dad and your dead he says, and your dead grandfather and what they want for you. That was so jerky. It was to say your dead grandfather. Come on now. Come on. That's a direct quote, y'all. Come on now.
It was just all the way off.
I don't even think Don would have let that line even make it in. I don't think he would let your dead grandfather make it in. I don't.
I wonder if he saw that script and was like, no, I'm out.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Yeah.
So they argue back and forth about her family and Chad's importance to her and in her life. And let me say this. I agree with the points that Chad is making. I just don't like the way he is making them. Mm-hmm. I agree that Naya's texting me. She's out and about and I want to make sure she's okay. I'm going to make it to Flushing before. So, y'all, my niece, Naya, has been here, in the city for 2 years. It's tough to kind of make friends in the city and stuff. And she's made some friends at school and she's made a few friends around. All of the people she has met, every time that she is going out to meet them, they are always late. And I keep telling her, I'm like, girl, you need to tell these people, one, either tell them to share their location with you. That way you can show up when they show up, or to tell them to tell you when they're leaving and y'all can leave like around the same time. If you're not willing to have the hard conversation of y'all need to fucking show up on time, because that's the conversation I have with people. Like I have a friend who was chronically late and I finally had to tell her like, hey babe, I love you, but I don't know if we're going to be able to see each other that often because I can't be sitting waiting for you for 45 minutes at a cafe by myself.
I was about to ask, when you say late, how late? So
Very late.
45 minutes is egregious.
Like 45 minutes is egregious. Get this. Naya, the last week, she was supposed to be meeting somebody to go to the museum, and they showed up an hour and a half late.
Yeah.
I thought I would have been, first of all, I would have just gone into the museum after 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and told them, let me know when you get here and we can meet up at an exhibit. But anyway, sorry, I'm off topic.
Nah, it's all good.
I'm off topic, but yeah.
It's a relatable thing.
Oh, I said all that to say she just texted me and said, because she was running late today, and she said somehow I'm gonna make it to the place, but no, gonna make it to the place before the people she was supposed to be meeting. She told them she was gonna be late. They whatever. I told her. I said
she shouldn't even say anything.
She always rushing, and I'd be like, baby, you don't rush. These people do not value your time. Just go on about your business.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, Chad, he's being a jerk. Sorry. And they go round and round in circles about Whitney's dream. And like I said, everything that he is saying is valid, in my opinion. She is making the choice. I agree 100%. You made your choice. Like, you had the chance on several occasions to like take the out, to be honest, and you didn't. You haven't. To that end, though, I will also say Chad is not being honest either. And Chad he's part of this, and he has the opportunity to speak up for himself at some point, right?
Yeah, and give the cold shoulder to Simone, or say something, say something to allude to the fact that he doesn't want that, But,
I think it shouldn't all be on Whitney's shoulders, even though Whitney has decided to take it all on her shoulders, because I get that he has been listening to her and following her lead where she doesn't want this information to come out at all, right? She's like, no, it has to come from me, or no, I can't do it, is her waffling back and forth, right?
Yeah.
However, it's affecting his life now. It's affecting his life. He is allowed and should be allowed to speak up for himself.
And it puts him in a awkward situation, because like Simone was behind the counter, like she's pushing all these boundaries. Like, you shouldn't even be at his workplace, just like, loitering and chilling out there. Like, that's a bad look.
He's not saying anything to her about it. And the thing is, Simone believes that he is in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
He's her first boyfriend. She wants to hang around him all the time, you know? And he happens to work at a place where people hang out. So, she can make her be there all the time. But he's not saying anything to her. He's not saying anything to her. And he needs to take some responsibility at this point, in my opinion. If he's so upset about all of this, and it's affecting him so much, he has to take some responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, they go on, and finally, Chad says to her, don't ever say that I ended this, that I split us up, because it's on you. You made the choice and it hurts. I don't want to lose you, but I'm not going to live my life grieving for some lost love. I'm going to move on. Again, it was just the dialogue was like a jerk. Yeah, I'm not going to spend my life grieving over some lost love. Like, it's fresh.
There was a bit of dialogue that I thought was crazy too. When who says this? Oh yeah, Whitney says, "Why is it so awful to work out for things to work out for my father?" Like, if he has a dream to play tennis, let him play tennis. You win Wimbledon and play with Agassi and all these other guys. Don't put that on Whitney to achieve this tennis feat. You know what I mean? It's such a wild
but
he can't.
He can't. Huh? He's got a bum knee. He can't do it. That's why he has to do it through Whitney. But I agree with you. It's like that was kind of when Whitney said that, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking that she's like, I'm doing this so my dad can achieve his dream, and And later on, she talks about like, but what about my dreams? When do I get to be happy?
Oh
It's
yeah, she
sad.
mentions that too. Yeah,
It's
she
so
finally.
sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, TC knows exactly what he's doing. He
Oh no,
comes
he
to it
knows.
last week. He because he was lying to what's his wife's name? Eve. He was lying to Eve about it when she asked him, like, do you think you're maybe pushing Whitney so hard because it's really what you want and not what she wants, and that you're trying to
Yeah,
make up for, live vicariously through her because you weren't able to have a tennis career? And he's like, that's ridiculous, and he walks away from her. But then the very next week, he's like sobbing in the Crane Trophy room and telling Whitney, like, this is why I push you so hard because I couldn't do it, but you can.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's nasty
Oh,
word.
brother, this guy stinks!
he's not even in the scene, and I'm like, we've found a
Yeah,
way to, yeah. So,
yeah, it's bad.
well, Whitney goes back to talk to Theresa after having talked to talk to Chad, and Theresa tells her, oh, I'm sorry. This is when Theresa tells her she found the engagement ring in Ethan's pocket. I
Yeah.
mixed those notes up. This is when Theresa tells her, I found an engagement ring in Ethan's pocket, and Whitney grabs the ring and says, damn it, Theresa, I can't listen to your fantasies right now. My whole life is falling apart. I have always been there for you, Theresa. Now I really need you to be there for me. And Theresa, listen, she's like, Whitney, I've never seen you like this. Let's talk it out. What is it? And then Whitney gives Theresa like this speech about how she's living in a fantasy world and I have to live in reality. You want to know about my reality? And she says, my grandfather wanted my father to become a tennis champion. And when my dad got injured and couldn't be a tennis player anymore, my grandfather died of a broken heart. I hate that this is their family lore. I hate that that's their family lore.
She never met this dude, and like
Yeah.
messing up her future bonding with the supposed love of her life. Like it's just ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. It says, then I came along and my dad saw in me that I had the same talent for tennis that he had. So now I have to uphold the family dreams, my father and my grandfather's. Just forget about mine. Forget about the man that I love. I have to. And she says, I have to take care of everybody else's dreams and I can't take it anymore, Theresa. I just can't sacrifice my whole life. I can't. It's interesting because she's saying that, but then when she talks to Chad, she tells him the opposite, right? She's saying to Theresa, I can't take it anymore. I can't sacrifice my whole life for this tennis dream that's not even mine. That's how I took what she said. I can't just sacrifice my whole life. But then when she talks to Chad, she's like, I can't tell my family. I can't break my father's heart. I have these tennis dreams on me, blah, blah, blah. And again, I will reiterate, why can't she still be a tennis star and have a boyfriend?
Yeah, you guys mentioned that on the last podcast. They're not mutually exclusive.
I mean, she's been with Chad all this time. I don't know what would change. She's been playing tennis, I guess. I haven't seen it. I have no evidence that she's been playing tennis, but allegedly she's been playing tennis all this time, and her and Chad have been hooking up in secret. They've been like, I feel like if they could be open about the relationship, it would be less of a distraction for her, right?
And I mean, and this is like another plausibility thing. Like the people in the town don't talk. You know, there's something else with like later on. No, did we mention anything with Ivy and no?
Not yet.
We didn't get there yet. But like even with them, like these two people, Ivy and David, these two people are always meeting up and nobody around. A small town, and nobody can connect the dots that like there's something nefarious going. When we get to failed marriages, yeah, that's
what would be funny is like us like a version of Passions that's just background characters talking about what they know, and like how all the main characters are so fucking stupid that they don't know what's going on between each other.
I think of doing a spoof all the time. Like that did you see on the Discord I mentioned something about doing Castleton and calling it Revulsion?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like that would be an interesting idea.
Yeah.
With the background characters too.
But yeah, you're right. Like Chad and Whitney are together all the time, and yeah, but you know what?
PDA too, a lot of PDA.
Simone mentions that lots of people have told her. It was the first time I've heard her say this, but she says that to him. Like everybody's telling me to get a clue that Chad loves Simone. Loves
Oh,
Whitney.
wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, she's here. She has heard. I guess the streets of Harmony are talking, right? Like, I guess, but they just ignore it.
Well, she ignores it.
She definitely ignores it. So Whitney's crying to Theresa. Meanwhile, Chad meets up with Ethan in the hallway, and this is when we find out that he's there to clean out the office. It was just plain nonsensical, but whatever. It's a non-important issue that drives me crazy. I have so many of those little things that don't matter, but it's like, y'all could have done it. They didn't have to do it like this. It's so sloppy. Whatever. Yeah. Chad then tells Ethan that his relationship with Whitney is over, and he just brings him up to speed on everything that's happened. And he tells him that he's through with the lies and the sneaking around and the pretending to be in love with Simone. And he says, I told her it was over. If a woman can't stand up for the love he says, I told her it was over. If a woman can't stand up for the love she feels for her man, then it's over, right? And Ethan responds, no. And if you give up on Whitney, you'll be making the biggest mistake of your life. And then they have this exchange. It's more Ethan. It's more Ethan giving him this interesting advice.
Yeah, how did you feel about that?
I felt like it was Ethan projecting, but
yeah. Like, put yourself in his shoes. Yeah, because I don't agree the way Chad is acting and what he's saying, but he's definitely not paying attention to what he's going through. Like, it was a boiling point. You know what I mean? This situation has been going on for what, 2-3 years now. Mm-hmm. Like, he hit a point where he can't take it anymore.
Yeah, and I will say, what Chad is saying is correct. I agree with Chad's sentiments. I just don't love the way he's saying it. I don't love the way it's packaged. But the core of his argument is true, right? Yeah. And I just think that he should have played it more hurt than angry. Mm-hmm. So he says, I can't stay with a woman who's putting everyone else's needs ahead of of her own. I mean, what about my dreams for a life with Whitney? She's so worried about hurting her father, she doesn't even care about hurting me. And Ethan says, well, aren't you doing the same thing? You're putting your needs and your wants ahead of Whitney's needs. You want her to be honest with her parents and Simone, but when she can't, you just decide you're going to leave her. And Chad says, well, I can't just keep banging my head against a brick wall. I agree with Chad. Like, he's been trying to push her to do this for a while. I didn't just give up. He didn't just give up. He finally gave up. Right. And so Ethan says, think about Whitney's predicament. Look how she loves her family. She doesn't want to hurt her father or her sister, but she's torn because she's in love with you. Think about her pain and you have to do whatever you can to help her deal with that on her time frame, not yours. If you truly love her, you have to put Whitney first, even if what she's doing is hurting you. Interesting you say that, Ethan. It's such an interesting speech coming from Ethan.
It seems so hypocritical.
It's so hypocritical. Yeah. It's so incredibly hypocritical because he himself have talked about how much he still loves Theresa. I love Theresa, but love isn't enough. You need trust. I love Theresa, but love isn't enough. You need trust. Why at this point can't you hear Chad's point of view where he's saying, I love Whitney, but it's not enough. She keeps hurting me by hiding our love and lying.
But my response to that, like living a lot of years and dealing with relationships and stuff, then you're just not in the right place to be in a relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, I got a lot of stuff to like. That's what I wish I would have learned early on, like to work on myself before trying to step into things. You know, because now you're on shaky ground. Like, obviously, Whitney's on shaky ground. She has no capacity to like love anyone because she's
Yeah.
not loving herself. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
hello. Wait, where my air horn at? If you can't love yourself, how the hell you can love anybody else? Can I get an amen?
yeah,
That's like she's
like,
not loving herself. Yeah.
nah, she's not ready. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
She's not there. And so I do think that Chad I love that what you just said. And with that in mind, I'm now thinking that it would be great for Chad to say to her, you know what? For right now, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
When you're ready to be honest, I'll be here. Right? I think that would have been nice. I get that he can't like wait for her forever, but I think that because he is still in love with her. He does want to be with her right now, and maybe that would spur her on to telling the truth and coming back to him.
And make it a two-pronged thing. While you're visibly staying away from Whitney, make it known to Simone that, yeah, I just don't want to be with anyone. You know, that's an easy out for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. These two people should just take some time apart.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Because like you said, Whitney is not, she's not she's not mentally, I think, healthy or stable enough right now to, and it's not her fault. It's like it's really her dad's fault. He's really
she's just getting pulled in so many different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because later on, I think she has this problem with Eve with the singing, right? That's another contention.
Yeah,
that she
definitely comes up.
Yeah, so she's getting pulled every type of way.
Yeah. So Ethan pushes Chad to talk to Whitney again. He tells her, don't give up on Whitney. He says, if you were in a difficult situation, would you want her to just give up on you? Wouldn't you want her to do everything she could in order to reach out to you? You can never, ever give up on the woman you love. Tell me that don't sound like some shit Theresa would say. Tell me that does not sound... All I have to do is say, you put Ethan in here somewhere. If I say... imagine Theresa saying, wouldn't you want... Sorry, I'm having a stroke. Not really. I'm not really having a stroke. Imagine Theresa saying that, though. You can never, ever give up on the man that you love, the one that you love. You can Theresa has... How many times has Theresa said that? I'll never give up on love. And Ethan is the main one saying all the time to Chad specifically that love is not enough. And it's one of the things that Ethan says that I actually agree with. It's one of the few things that Ethan says. And I'm like, yeah, I can totally see where he's coming from. I agree. Sometimes love is not enough. You need more than just love. You need, for Ethan, he needs trust. For Chad, I think he needs Whitney to respect their relationship, right? He's missing that respect for his love for her. And since that portion is missing, he's like fed up and done with it. But Ethan is a hypocrite. And keeps telling Theresa, love's not enough, Theresa, love's not enough. But then also now we're learning that Ethan, it apparently has the same personality as Theresa, saying you can never, ever, ever give up on love.
Yeah, don't ask me to find out Ethan's Enneagram, because
oh my gosh, we have to do that. We didn't do
I had a headache trying to find his.
We need to do the like some different personality things and see if we can figure out their different like Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, I don't know what the other ones, horoscopes and stuff like that. It's pretty fun. Yeah, we did the horoscopes one time. That was really fun.
Yeah, most horoscopes is like very multi-layered. That's why I've never really got into it, but
it's a lot.
It seems pretty cool because I think it switches with days, right? Like the day that you're born, it could be a sun moon kind of sign,
Right,
something like
like
that.
your sun sign is like your basic horoscope. So like it's
Yeah.
based on the day that you were born. So from I can't remember the ranges, but like I was born on November 14th, so that means I'm a Scorpio sun. I am a Scorpio.
Yeah.
However, based on the time of day that I was born and the location where I was born, like what stars were over me at that time of the
Yeah.
day, I am also a Capricorn moon and a Capricorn rising. So
Okay.
I'm actually more Capricorn than I am sun. I mean, more Capricorn than I am Scorpio, but whatever. That's the wrong
Yeah, it
podcast.
seems so complex, but
It's really not that complex. And honestly, well, actually it can be. Let me say that. It can be complex. I don't ascribe to
those kind of things too
those kinds
much.
of things that much.
Yeah.
I think there's something to pull from them. I think there's something to pull from
Yeah.
like a lot of things.
It's not always all true, but yeah, there's like just like I was telling you with the nine, there's some things like it might not fit with me, you know what I mean? But
Right.
as a whole, yeah.
Overall, right. And
Yeah,
then it's
overall.
interesting, like the thing about like your sun sign is like your horoscope, right? Or your whatever.
Moon.
It's your sun sign. Um but your moon and your rising are also very important. So it's similar to how you said that you are Enneagram a type
Oh,
9, but a 8
yeah.
wing, right? It's
Yeah.
like I have these characteristics, but I also have characteristics of this like thing over here. So when
Yeah.
I for the long of forever, wasn't really into horoscopes that much because I didn't really super identify with a lot of like the Scorpio stuff that they say about Scorpios. But once I did my birth chart and I learned about being a Capricorn moon and a Capricorn rising, and then they mixed those three together and gave me a reading from like those big three,
Hmm.
it was like
Yeah.
it almost pinpointed who I was. So
Yeah, you probably right. I probably have some kind of bias with the horoscope that just prevents me from learning it, and I just don't go further because I could have did the same thing with Enneagram, but I just pursued it further and just got more knowledge on it, and
yeah.
now I kind of ascribe to it a whole lot. You know?
Look, I think it's interesting. I think it's very interesting to kind of like use all these different kinds of tools and all of these different
Hmm.
kinds of
Exactly. It's just another tool in the toolbox.
yeah, like all these different philosophies to kind of look inward. I think it's really interesting. But
Yeah.
anyway, elevator.
Yeah. Sorry for the side. All this
The
side
way I
talk.
just said elevator because that's the next word. Whatever. Chad is convinced by Ethan to talk to Whitney one more time. He says he'll talk to her one more time, and they go back to Theresa's office where they walk in on Whitney crying to Theresa, and she's saying this whole long speech, but the tail end of it that they catch is her basically screaming, I can't make anyone happy. I can't even make myself happy, and no one even cares about that anyway. She says, when can I be happy? When do I get a chance to be happy? And then she realizes that Chad and Ethan are there, and she runs off, and she goes and she gets on a broken elevator.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, but there's a whole couple of scenes about this elevator, and there's a wire that's snapped, and it's whatever, and they
But that's how we get the relationship to get back on, you know what I mean? Get going again.
yeah, she's gonna obviously have a near death experience. I did watch a little bit of the next
Me too.
episode because at the end I realized Julian's on the elevator with her.
Oh, that's not the same reason why I kept watching on, but you'll know when we talk about failed marriages.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I watched because I was like, what the hell is Julian doing there? Obviously it's Crane, so it makes sense, but it's so interesting I'm interested to see the two of them have like a conversation.
Yeah,
Stuck in an elevator and talk, especially with our newfound Julian. So all right. That's all I have for them this week. You have anything to add for the
No, I think I got through a lot of my stuff.
Oh my God, y'all. We have been going for a long time. I'm so sorry, Garentch.
Do you say now we good? I might have to check on them in a little bit, but we could keep going.
Okay, because we definitely have
because we got
a
Sharice,
lot
right?
to talk about in Sheridan and Louise.
Are you good? You need to take a break or anything?
I think I'm good for right now. Yeah,
okay.
I'm good for right now.
Yeah, we could go.
All right, so we're going on to our Sharice storyline. And we pick up where Beth is doing her best to talk Antonio into eloping with Sheridan. Long story short, it works. I'm not gonna do every single note in this time. Long story short, it works. He decides, you know what? This is a great idea, Beth. I'm definitely going to ambush Sheridan with a wedding in a random
ambush is a good word.
Yeah. And so Beth volunteers to pack a bag for Sheridan. And when she does this very secretly, she pretends like she's going to the bathroom and she actually goes in Sheridan's room and packs a bunch of sexy lingerie. She finds Sheridan's diaphragm, which if you don't know what a diaphragm is, first of all, maybe you should just look it up, but I will tell you, it is basically a physical contraceptive, right? And so it's a form of birth control that you can use and without having to take a pill or anything, right? She finds Sheridan's diaphragm, decides, you know what? She won't have any excuse not to sleep with Antonio if she has the diaphragm. And then she takes it another fucking step further and pokes holes in the diaphragm, hoping that Sheridan will not only sleep with Antonio, but get pregnant with Antonio's baby. It was heinous. It also was crazy, and one of the reasons we love a soap opera, right?
Yeah, and I have to say to Fantasia, man, I love your character in these episodes. because it was so interesting seeing her do all these things. Just every facet of the plan was just working, you know what I mean? Whether it was well, you'll get to that.
Well, and she it's nice sometimes to see a devious plot being carried out, but it's not sinister yet. We haven't pushed to the very sinister, super sinister.
And I'm okay with Beth right now. Right now, with these episodes, it was entertaining. It gave me that dopamine hit that I always long for in Passions, but that's all I'll say, Fantasia.
Sabotaging her birth control was, I can't get down with that. That's crazy.
It's diabolical.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I do agree that Beth made things interesting this week for sure.
Yeah.
And so she packs the bag, whatever. She also tells Antonio that the whole thing has to be a surprise to Sheridan. So he can't tell Sheridan, he can't tell his family, he can't tell anybody. They just need to he needs to just take her off, think about how romantic it'll be, right? So then let me see if I need to talk about this. No, we already talked about how Liz has shown up, so I'm gonna skip that. Liz showed up. Antonio and Sheridan go off to this inn. Sheridan thinks they're just going to the Greystone Inn for lunch, for a special little lunch, and they'll be right back. That's what everybody thinks, except for Antonio, who has called ahead and had all kinds of arrangements made for his wedding to Sheridan. So they drive, and I think he was driving, but I thought about this. Is it safe for him to be driving and operating heavy machinery? He could drop dead at any moment.
Yeah,
shouldn't they? That's the thing. Is there's so many ways for Antonio to find out that he's sick. Of course, obviously Eve should have just told him because she's a doctor and it's her job. But nobody should be letting him drive. I certainly would not be getting in the car, the passenger seat, with him driving. He's been passing out.
Yeah.
Every 30 minutes.
But he's good. I mean, love is his cure, right?
I guess, apparently. But yeah, he drove, and I was like, I don't think y'all should be out.
But that's the thing with Passions. You set up all this stuff, but you're not raising the stakes. You know what I mean? So if he has this disease problem, every like aspect of the scene should employ that. You know what I mean? Like him having that kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know. This
I agree.
fact that he's
I think that they bring it up when it's convenient.
yeah,
right? But
and then they
but
just leave
it
it
doesn't
out.
actually make sense narratively in some of these smaller ways when it shows up, like this
Right now,
example where
yeah,
should he be driving a car,
it's
right?
not a problem anymore.
Yeah, apparently it's not a problem when he's driving. It's so um anyway, they get there. He's called ahead. Sheridan has no clue what he has in store for her, which is an ambush wedding.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Luis goes over to Beth's house and she's like gonna make him lunch, she says, I think, and offers a sympathetic ear to him, like, "Oh, Luis, I know all of this must be so tough for you." And Luis actually looks at her and says, "Yeah, you know what, Beth? Actually, I'm sorry. I bet this is very tough for you too." And she's like, "Oh, you were honest with me, Luis. I understand. You love Sheridan. She's being so." Now, Beth is the ultimate pick me. Beth is the ultimate pick me because she's just being so cool about the fact that he
subservient to him.
blew her off entirely the second that Sheridan came back. And it's like making him food that he then is taking to give to Sheridan, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And she just keeps letting him walk all over her. And instead is victimizing Sheridan.
And the funny thing with them, like, they're not, I mean, if you want to set up this whole relationship there, they're not bonding at all. So I don't even see what Beth is really holding on to from that standpoint.
Beth just wants
She just
Luis.
wants him.
She just wants Luis. I don't know. It makes me sad, honestly, because she wants Luis regardless. She doesn't care that he isn't in love with her and is in love with someone else. I don't know. It's hard for me to relate because the way that and this might be a little too much about me, but baby, I will break up with you if you tell me my hair looks weird. Like I can't even take minor criticisms that make me feel like you don't love me, right? I don't know. And so the fact that
go ahead. No, I could bring up a lot of, I mean, not even relationship, but times that I've like, there's a certain girl I'm interested in, and I'd probably take a long time and trying to talk to them. But as soon as I know, when I make that move and they don't receive that same, my attentions or whatever, I don't even like them no more. That's it.
I don't even like you anymore.
Yeah, it's just like,
yeah. No.
So exactly. I don't understand this stuff where you're going after people that visibly are showing you with their actions that they want another person. Like Luis is going beyond. Yeah. Like he's fearful. Well, I think it's an attack on his masculinity that Sheridan was to sleep with his brother. You know what I mean? And she sees all of that and she still is going for him.
She's still going for him. I can't relate to Beth.
Yeah.
I cannot relate to Beth. I can't. I don't know. Sorry, Fantasia. I just can't.
Yeah. Like, I like everything she's doing, but the motivation is not there for me.
Yeah.
Maybe because you can't even say a need to feel loved because Luis has shown no interest. Like, obviously because of her childhood with Edna, she hasn't had any kind of love, so that's what she's searching for, but she's not getting that from Luis.
She's not getting it from Luis. I think it's good enough. I think for Beth, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Which, again, just makes me so sad. Because she's a beautiful woman. She's so gorgeous. Yeah. She's stunningly beautiful. I don't know why they did that to her hair. I think to make her look less attractive.
not to be pig-headed, but like when I first watched the show, she was like top 5 for me.
Yeah, I think she's gorgeous. She's a beauty. She's actually a literal beauty queen. I'm pretty sure she won like
Yeah.
Miss USA or something. Well, maybe she didn't win Miss USA, but she definitely is a literal beauty queen. Like has been in big national pageants.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird that they put her in that, but
yeah, man. So I don't know. Whatever. She's upset and has set these plans in motion, and she thinks it's all going to work out for her. Whatever. To get Antonio to marry Sheridan so that she can have Luis. I don't know why she thinks she would have Luis just because Antonio married Sheridan.
Yeah.
I do not get that. Because Luis, even if Sheridan does marry Antonio, I don't know if that means that Luis would marry Beth.
No, he wouldn't. He would just be, I mean, languishing like crazy.
I think he would be trying to break
him
up.
up. Yeah.
And also let us not forget, everybody believes that Antonio only has a few weeks to live.
Yeah.
So even if she does marry Antonio, and even if Luis gets so upset with her that he doesn't want to be with her for the time being, right, after he dies, but after he dies, they will inevitably get back together. They will inevitably make up. And so, whatever. Beth, she is good enough, I guess. It's good enough for her. So anyway, they let's see, Luis goes to Beth's house. Oh, Antonio calls Beth because he decides, you know what? I know you said that it should just be the two of us, but I really want you and Luis to come up here and be our witnesses and be our maid of honor and best man, right? And she tells him, I don't know where Luis is. I think he's on patrol. I don't know, even though he's at her house. Then Mrs. Wallace picks up the phone, is listening in on the other end. And at the end of the conversation, instead of just saying it, she yells out, "Oh, Antonio, don't listen to my daughter. She's lying to you. Luis is here and he's in love with Sheridan and she's been lying to you this whole time, blah, blah, blah." But of course, he doesn't hear this because he hung up before Edna said it. So Beth then goes and threatens her mother that she's gonna send her to Sweet Serenity, blah blah blah, elder abuse, blah blah blah, elder abuse. But Sheridan at the same time calls Luis and checks in with him, tells him how much she loves him, that she misses him, that she can't wait to be back in his arms again. And then Luis and Beth go to the book cafe. And they run into Liz. Luis is shocked to see Liz in Harmony. Yeah. Then he and Liz have this long conversation where he brings Liz up to speed on what's been going on in Harmony, and that Antonio is his brother, that Sheridan is also his fiance, and that she got her memories back. Also that Antonio is dying. All of it, right? So now Liz has been downloaded with all the right information, all the important information. And she talks about, wow, it was crazy. You all missed each other so many times on the island. And then we were here in Harmony. They talk about all the near misses, which only serve to remind me of how much I fucking hated that whole thing.
Yeah, number 9.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, we could have nipped all of this in the butt if they just met at the island.
Yep. Nope. We need the drama. We need Sheridan with 2 brothers.
Yeah.
Caught between 2 brothers. So he brings her up to speed, blah, 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 all the things that are happening. He explains that he is the one that's actually engaged to Sheridan. And
Liz kind of hints that she does have feelings for Antonio there, right? I think
it becomes pretty clear.
Yeah, because she's kind of emotional after hearing all of that. And
when he tells her that Antonio is dying, she gets very upset. She starts to kind of tear up. He notices, he's like, you really care for my brother. And then she tells him about the first time that he had his first accident and how she cared for him so much, and that they were really close and everything. But then she starts to talk about how Sheridan and Antonio were having sex all night on the beach while they all the time and just like constantly hooking up. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that to you." And yeah, it was funny to me. Anyway, they have a bunch of conversation around Antonio and Sheridan and whatever. Finally, Luis starts to like get anxious about where Sheridan and Antonio are. They've been gone for quite some time. He was like, they were just supposed to be having lunch. Where are they? And he's getting a little frustrated, and he's considering maybe calling her, but he doesn't because Beth spills water on him on purpose so that he takes off his jacket. Well, she forces him to take off his jacket. She's like, "No, give me your jacket so that I can dry it. His cell phone is in the pocket of his jacket. And so she takes it so that she can wait just in case Sheridan calls again, which Sheridan does call. And Beth does not answer the phone, sends her the voicemail. Sheridan leaves a voicemail frantic because at the end of her lunch at this place, Antonia says, "You ready for dessert?" And she's like, "Sure, great. I would love some dessert." And he signals to the staff, and they bring over a giant wedding cake and put it down on the table in front of her. And she's like, "What is this?" And he says, "This is going to be the greatest day of our life. It's our wedding day." She says, "What? It's our what?" And he says, "Yes, we're going to get married today, Sheridan."
I loved her reaction.
She was
dumbfounded.
Yeah. She was so her flabbers were gasted. She was so shocked, speechless.
She was like, "You what?"
And she was, I personally, I know that we are not supposed to be making Antonio upset. Like any shock could make him upset. Now it could kill him. Does that mean we have to acquiesce to his every fucking request, no matter how ridiculous it is? Right?
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous.
At this point, if I were Sheridan, I'm starting a fight. Right here, right now.
Yeah, do something and get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe you did this without talking to me first. While I appreciate that you want to spend your life with me, this is not the kind of life I want to live with a husband who does not discuss big, huge decisions with me. This is a major decision you didn't even consider if I wanted my friends or my family to be here. And he does notice that she's upset because Sharon looks like she's going to throw up. I want to say, from the moment they put that cake on the table to the end of the last episode this week, Sheridan looked like she was going to throw up the entire time. She was turning green. He clocks it. He notices she's upset and immediately is like, "No, I know why you're upset. It's because you wanted us to have a big wedding with friends and family. You're worried about my mama." That's what it was. He was like, "You really you're worried about my mother. You're worried that she wants to be at the wedding." No, I'm worried about me. Yeah. This isn't what I want for myself. I'm in a black dress. I don't want to get married in a black dress.
That was a quick excuse that she gave, but that's the problem that I have with Passion's the idea of consent. Like they just steamroll through women's consent all the time. Like you're saying, he sees her behavior, her body language and everything. Like she's surprised. she's not saying anything that wants to affirm that she wants to get married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's just going with it. He's just like, "Yeah, we're going to get married. I don't want to waste another minute not being married to you."
Yeah. I was so irritated because he at first acts like he can't understand why Sheridan doesn't want to be ambushed and forced into a marriage on a random Tuesday, right? Like it's like a random day of the week. We're out for lunch and you think I want to just get married, and he doesn't seem to understand why this. Again, I'm gonna keep calling it an ambush because that's what it is.
No, it is because you can't go from lunch, a simple getaway lunch, to like a marriage proposal or what?
A wedding.
Yeah, a wedding. Yeah, an actual wedding.
A whole ass wedding, and you picked out the cake. What even flavor cake this is? What? I bet it was lemon. He would pick the worst flavor cake.
Yeah.
He would pick the worst flavor cake for a wedding. She didn't even get to pick her own cake. She's not gonna get to. She doesn't even get to pick her own bouquet. She doesn't get to pick anything. That alone should tell you like this is a bad idea, Antonio.
Yeah.
But anyway, she tries to kind of stall. Like he says, oh, you're worried because you want us to have a wedding with my family, and you know how upset my mom's gonna be that they didn't get to share in this special day. But don't worry, we'll have the big church wedding when we go back to Harmony, and we'll have the biggest reception the town's ever seen. And but that's why you're upset, right? And she says, yes, girl, just tell him. Again, I will say, I get that we're not supposed to be quote upsetting him, but we have to just agree we have to do everything he wants now.
Yeah, like there needs to be moments where she just goes rogue or she just deviates from that plan, because it's pretty silly. You know what I mean?
Why can't she say no to Antonio? She should be allowed to say no to Antonio, especially to something this monumental.
Mm-hmm.
She should be allowed to say no. So frankly, in my opinion, if it were me, I would have said, because I do understand we're trying not to kill him or whatever. So
are we?
I would be actively trying to kill him.
Right?
I would actively be like constantly upsetting this man. But if I wasn't trying to constantly upset him to make him drop dead finally, I would very calmly say, Antonio, this is simply not what I want. And no amount of you pleading with me, no amount of you guilting me is going to change that. This is simply not what I want, and you did not discuss it with me.
Did you notice that point where she's like romanticizing over the nice scenery, and she mentions, oh, this reminds me of a time that me and Luis were at a similar end. I just wish that could have been the time where like we hash out something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it amounted to absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
And she
quickly
he clocks it. He's like, you and Luis, what were you and Luis doing at a romantic end together? And she says, I didn't say Luis. I said Louise, a college friend of mine. It's like, okay, fine. Why are we even doing this? So she tries to stall him, but he pushes her. She says yes. And she does manage to call Luis for help. This is when she calls and Beth does not pick up. She leaves the voicemail. Beth then deletes. She says, lucky number 7, deletes that message.
It's so funny.
And so meanwhile, Luis is still like worried about like what's going on and tells Liz that Antonio and Sheridan should be back soon, and he doesn't understand what's taking so long. And so they go back and forth. Meanwhile, at the gravestone, Antonio and Sheridan go to the chapel. They meet the officiant and his wife, who also plays the organ. Her name is Mona. I don't know what the officiant's name was. Then they bring out the marriage license. They're like, you have to sign the marriage license. I don't know. I've never been married, but don't you have to like go to the court to get that?
Yeah, we went to a courthouse for that.
Yeah.
Before we actually had our reception.
Before the ceremony, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird to me that they just had a certificate for them to sign. Whatever.
A lot of these things are just like little writing shortcuts to kind of like keep it moving. You know what I mean? But it's done so poorly. You know.
Yeah. So the officiant's like, you need to sign this license before y'all can have the wedding. And Sheridan says that she can't do it. She tries not to sign the marriage license. But after a little bit of time, like Antonio quickly signs it. Then she reluctantly signs it. There's no way you could have gotten me to sign that.
Nah, I know.
There's no planet where you would have gotten me to sign that.
Well, she's hoping he dies quick, and it could just be annulled.
I guess. So, she's still hoping that Luis will come and Luis, please hurry, come and rescue me. You are Sheridan Crane, lest you forget.
Yeah.
I don't like how helpless they've made her. You're Sheridan Crane. What do you mean rescue you? Sheridan would never have let Luis get away with doing this bullshit to her in once they started getting together and they were kind of, you know, learning about each other's boundaries, right? She wouldn't have let him push this boundary like this. Again, I guess it's because Antonio's dead, or I'm sorry, dying, not dead yet.
Yeah.
If only he was dead. But again, at this point, if I were her and I'm really just like, I got to come up with something. Faint, girl, pass out. Oh, drop to the floor. I can't do this.
It almost seems like the producers just don't like her or something. It was some kind of bad blood. Because when we first saw the show, who did you think was going to be the main character out of everybody else? It was Sheridan, right?
Yeah, back in the day, I would have thought that Sheridan was
like all the promos were talking about Sheridan and this whole Diana thing, Friends with Princess Diana, and now we come full circle to this, and it's just like she's just helpless. I don't know. Yeah, it's nothing like the character that was written before.
She used to be a lot more strong-willed, although I do think she is strong-willed when it comes to Luis, right? Like,
yeah.
Like and maybe that's because they have a real relationship. They have a real honest relationship, and she and Antonio don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because Antonio is in a relationship with who she was as an amnesiac.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, come and rescue me, Luis. Just say no. Just say no. Yeah. You can just say no. You say no.
She feels like she'll be doing Pilar a disservice. Like I could get that from that standpoint, but everything else, nah.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
So these two wedding people, the wedding chapel people, they go over the options for the wedding. Apparently there's only one bouquet. There's several couples ahead of them getting married today. Sheridan is clearly not into any of this. Antonio clocks her discomfort immediately, but then he says, I know what's bothering you, and I don't know why I didn't realize it before. Actually, I do know why I didn't realize it before. It was because I was so caught up in my own happiness, but I just didn't want to see that there was something wrong. And there was something wrong. It's about eloping, isn't it? Well, that easy. That's a gimme. And so, okay, you're on the right track, Antonio. Yes, it's about the elopement. What about the elopement, Antonio? And then he says,
that it's to you.
Right, it's you, buddy. He says, I knew you had reservations about this, but I had no idea that you felt so strongly. You're worried about my family, aren't you, Sheridan? You know how close the Lopez Fitzgeralds are, and you know how they'd want to be a part of the wedding. This woman looks like she's about to vomit all over the place. She's listening to him talk about how the reason why she doesn't want to elope with him right now is because of her love for his family. Yeah. I mean, he just is the worst.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
He's so self-centered. Self-centered. He has a banana-shaped brain that is as smooth as marble, and I cannot stand him.
Nah, he's not a likable character at all.
He's brain dead, and I'm sick of him. I wish he was really dead.
Somebody really did some damage to him.
Die already, bro. So anyway, he tells her we'll have the church when we get back, and then he starts saying, I love you so much. I want to marry you today. I want to make you my wife. I want the most wonderful woman in the world. I want you, Sheridan. I know my family will understand why we eloped. You heard all those eyes? I, me. I, me. Everything's about him. Everything's about him. Everything's always about him. Just cannot stand him. Anyway, then the officiant's wife, Mona, takes Sheridan off, gives her a veil, some used veil. She can barely stand up. She's so sick. She's so anxious. Antonio comes in, ignores how clearly unwell Sheridan is. She can hardly stand up straight. She looks pale. She's grabbing her stomach. She's hemming and hawing, and there's something obviously very wrong with her. He pretends like he doesn't see it. He pretends like he doesn't know. Whatever. Meanwhile, Luis is getting very anxious about where they are. So Liz tells him, well, why don't you call the inn and see when they left? Because he's like called patrol to see if there's been any accidents. He's worried that something very bad has happened to them. And Liz says, why don't you try calling the inn and then you can find out what's when they left, right? So he is like, well, I can't remember what the name of the inn was. And Liz is like, well, why don't we look it up on the internet? And Luis says, oh, Beth can do that. Beth can find anything on the internet. Can't you, Beth? And so
yeah, she would be the one. The person who devised the whole plan easily is the person.
She has to destroy it. She has to bring it down. So they go over to the computer and she starts like typing in and she's purposefully fucking up the search, right? She's purposefully like misspelling words and putting things where they don't belong. And maybe y'all will remember there was a time when you did a search and like your keywords needed to be in a specific order for you to get the right results. So Liz kept seeing the mistakes. It's like, oh, you put I there instead of E. Like, that's crazy. Oh, you mean this. Oh, you should put that word first. And Beth obviously was doing it on purpose and is getting so annoyed with Liz.
She's like, oh.
But thank God Liz was there to kind of keep Beth honest. I was so glad. I was grateful for Liz in this moment, really. So eventually they find the name of the inn. They're like, oh, that's the one, Greystone Inn. And he calls and the lady at the desk tells them, oh yeah, I remember that couple. I'm sure they'll be back in about maybe an hour. And he says, back? Shouldn't they be on their way? Oh, like out? Like, didn't they leave? What do you mean they're coming back? And she says, oh, well, they're eloping. They're getting married. He's like, what? They're getting married? And obviously they then all run off to go try and stop it. He's like, I hope it's not too late. They get there, they walk into the chapel, they hear the officiant say, I now pronounce you man and wife. And Luis is like, she did it. I can't believe she married him. But it was a fake out. It wasn't their wedding. When he finally walks in, Beth, oh my God, at one point, Beth was like, well, they're married now, Luis. You just have to accept it.
Yeah, I did like that. Beth was doing good. Yeah,
she was. I did like
successful.
That. Yeah, it was funny to me. And then so he walks over. He looks at them and is like, I can't believe this, right? And Antonio is like, Luis, man, I'm so glad you made it. And he like tries to hug him. He tries to like hug him, and Luis like dodges him, pushes him away.
Yeah.
And he stares right at Sheridan. Okay. He stares right at Sheridan and says, what does he say? Called away. Oh, I'm on the wrong note. Sorry. He stares right at Sheridan and he says, you're not going to get married. I'm not going to allow it. Right. Antonio is like, oh no, I'm so glad you're here because you and Beth can be, our maid of honor and best man. And that's when Luis looks at Sheridan and says, you're not going to get married. I'm not going to allow it. Antonio thinks this is because Luis wants them to have a big wedding, right? Of course. Liz then interrupts because Antonio hadn't seen her. And he's like, Liz, I'm so happy to see you. And then the Justice of Peace comes in, says he's been called away for whatever, on urgent business. And it's going to be a while before he can marry them. And it's going to be a delay. So Liz and Antonio go off together to catch up. And then Sheridan is left with Luis, who is very upset. He's like, I can't believe you're about to do this. I can't believe you're about to marry my brother. She says that she left him a message and he's like, I didn't get any message. And they're like, that's weird. Don't know how that happened, but I definitely left you a message. We all know what happened to the message. Anyway, Sheridan says, thank goodness you got here in time. And Luis is like, but what if I hadn't? Would you have married him? And then she says, "Oh, Luis, it was awful. Antonio had me backed into a corner. I tried to talk him out of it. I tried telling him how disappointed your mother would be, how I wanted to have a big wedding with all my friends and family and your family, but he just wouldn't listen." But you didn't tell him any of that. You didn't say anything, actually. If we're being honest, she did not say anything except for yes. She looked frightened and she said yes. And I agree, she was under duress, but at the same time, she telling Luis that she tried to tell him this, but she didn't try to tell him anything. She didn't. She went along with it.
The thing that I hate about this is like Luis is supposed to be the serve type, maybe resourceful. He is a cop, right? Why put all the onus on Sheridan to get her out of this situation? He keeps saying like, "Oh, be careful, be careful." But why don't you have some kind of solution where she's not in that position? Like if I'm trying to think about like if I was in some side relationship like that, how would I how would I like alleviate stress off my supposed lover? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just leaves it completely up to her to deal with. Like
Yeah.
whatever happens, that's on you to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, because for Luis, his prerogative is very black or white. I feel like it's very like we have to tell him or you're with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but I do think there is a way where we can all, I don't know, obviously I believe they should just tell Antonio the truth. They should drug him up and tell him the truth.
Yeah.
Give him a sedative. Take
put
him to
him
the
back
hospital. Take him to the hospital. So if he does go into some kind of shock or something, there's somebody there to help him. And keep
bring
him
him back to
alive.
St. Lisa's.
Yeah, send him back to St. Lisa's. That's where he got his life back before. Send him back on the plane with Liz. But anyway, yeah. So he says like, you weren't gonna marry him though, right? And then he says, well, you know what? It's all good because you can't get married without a marriage license anyway. And I know you would never have signed one of those. Meanwhile, Beth sees the marriage license on the table, grabs it and throws it to Luis's feet. And he picks it up. He's like, what's this? And he gets upset. He says, Sheridan, you weren't going to marry my brother, were you? And she says, yes, Luis, I was going to marry him. I was going to say I do. Yikes. Whoa, yikes. So they got that to figure out. You have anything to add to this? That's my last note.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it all before, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's just crazy. I just really wish they would lean into the fun, you know what I mean? Like have them really like the brothers battle, because that's essentially what they're doing, pitting brothers against each other, right?
Yeah. Yes, I would have found it more interesting. I think I would not hate Antonio quite as much if the storyline was that they come back to Harmony. Sheridan gets her memories back, and then these two brothers and then she's actually torn, and these two brothers like vie for her attention, or she's not torn at all, but Antonio's like trying to get her back, like he's in league with Beth and they're working together trying to, I think I would have enjoyed that more. As a matter of fact, does he link up with Beth at some point to Antonio? Don't they work together at some point?
No, Antonio and Sheridan? I mean, Antonio and Beth? No.
He doesn't work with her at one point to try to keep them apart.
Oh, yeah, maybe I don't think, but he never knows the full plan of the pit, though. But I think there's certain things that Beth kind of utilizes everybody in her plan.
Yeah, it's more so she's using him. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to add too, you could say this about Antonio and also Luis too, but they both have no identity other than being in love with Sheridan, being with Sheridan. Like they I don't know if it's something where they just clinging to her status or whatever allure that she has. Like maybe it's just a beauty. But for me, I just, you see how like they take it well, you could say that about a lot of the soap opera characters, but they just take it as a knock on them, on their like actual self if they don't get this person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think I kind of disagree that they don't have any personality beyond Sheridan. I agree that that's Antonio. I
Yeah,
agree
Antonio for
that
sure.
every
Yeah.
conversation he has is about Sheridan. The thing about Luis, though, we know his identity is he's a police officer. He is the law, after all.
But
He he cares very deeply for his family. He's very overprotective of his family members. We know so much about who he is as a person versus Antonio. We don't know anything about him as a person. So all we learn about him is that he loves Sheridan. But I do feel like, of course, a large part of Luis's identity in the show is wrapped up in Sheridan. But I think it's to the kind of the same extent as like a lot of the other characters versus Antonio's is beyond
strictly,
that.
His self-worth is strictly tied to Sheridan for sure.
Yeah. I will say, I think one thing that Passions could have done better that I think a lot of others, well, when I say a lot of other soap operas, I mean Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
That I think other soap operas do well is that a lot of times, if the character's in a storyline, that's all they're in. They're not in and out of other storylines as much. And I would like to see more crossover happen.
Yeah, that's what I really wish.
Yeah, I would like to see a little more crossover happen because they have the opportunity to do it. They just don't take those opportunities. But I do think that Luis has more of an identity outside of his, and he's got his whole thing with Martin and trying to figure, and he hates the cranes and he won't be right.
Oh yeah, but all of that has been pushed aside. But yeah, you're right. I'm just like focusing on these episodes. That's what I kind of took away from that.
Yeah, he is very wrapped up right now. Luis is very wrapped up in Sheridan. Got to keep Sheridan away from Antonio. Absolutely. Right now, it's like that's all he has a one-track mind.
Yeah, that was my main takeaway from this.
So, anyway, let's finish this thing up because we've been talking forever.
But
it's been good. It's been fun. So,
it's fun for me too.
but I am getting hungry. I'm about to go figure out something to eat. So.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's talk about troubled marriages. I'm gonna blast through this. I'm gonna speed run this. Truly, all y'all need to know is that Eve wants to get Julian back. Sorry, no, I said that backwards. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, she kind of does, man.
Yeah. All y'all really need to know is that Julian wants to get Eve back, and the more Eve says that she doesn't want to be with Julian, the more he wants her, basically. That's all you need to know on their front. Nothing really happened with them this week. Eve thanks him again for being so great with her daughter, and so they have a better rapport than they've had in the past. That's it. But we do have somewhat of a development with Grace, Sam, David, and Ivy. David is supposed to be filling out some sort of annulment survey, and Sam and Grace are waiting for him to show up with the annulment paperwork survey. I don't really understand. I don't even think Passions understood what it was that they were writing here, and therefore, since they couldn't understand it, neither could I. But he has to fill out a survey, and he doesn't want to lie on this survey and say that he is no longer in love with Grace. And that upsets Sam. He's very upset talking to Grace like, he better not come in here with that survey. He better had lied on that survey and said he's not in love with you. And then he and Grace go back and forth where Grace defends David and says, well, he just wants to tell the truth. And I actually kind of feel sorry for him. And, I don't remember being married to him, but he remembers being married to me. And it must be such a loss to him. Right. And they fight about him for a little bit. Sam asks her if she's having second thoughts about the annulment. She hems and haws and doesn't immediately answer, but eventually is like, no, I just feel bad for David. Like, he had this great love and I don't remember it. And but I want our marriage. Sam is fed up with sleeping on the couch. He mentions it. Yeah, he is fed up with sleeping. He's like, you and I should be together. I hate that this is in the way of us. I hate that he's standing in the way of us, and that it's just like one simple question on a annulment survey, and he can't even just, for your benefit, lie about it. But she's like, but he shouldn't lie. It's a holy document. And shut up.
Yeah. Grace, oh no, man. I'm not liking her at all.
Yeah.
This situation is silly.
Yeah, the separation is very silly. Meanwhile, Ivy and David meet up at where they at the book cafe somewhere public.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. Like nobody sees this.
Somewhere. Kay saw it. The thing is, Kay's seen it. So.
Oh yeah. But I mean, these are the two people who shouldn't be together the most. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's so odd.
Yeah, clearly there's some kind of conflict of interest, knowing what Sam and Grace are going through.
Yeah, it's very much like, what connection do the two of you have that you would be spending so much time together out in public? Yeah. But they meet up and to plan their next steps. David has had a change or a change in his conscience or whatever. A crisis of conscience, let's say that, where he's telling Ivy, yes, he did agree before to get on board with her plan and try and break up Sam and Grace and try and take Grace for himself. But now he wants Grace to be happy, and he can't lie to her, and he can't keep doing this to her. He loves her so much, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. All that to say that he's going to keep going on with the fucking plan. So, he morally grandstands with Ivy, and it actually pisses me off, because you could stop this at any moment, but you don't want your life to blow up, which I get, but if you're not going to actually blow it all up, then you're on board and just do what she fucking tells you to do.
And this is where you need to introduce that element. Like, why, how is he being blackmailed? Why? Because the fact that we never get that is just pointless when he's like you're saying, expressing that he doesn't want to do this nefarious plan or whatever, you know? Like, why even mention that if you're not gonna just, not fall suit?
Yeah, why even bring it up? Like, and again, what I really hate about David is how he acts like he's so superior to Ivy. Meanwhile, you are the instrument, and you are the instrument of destruction of this marriage, and you very easily could ruin her plan, but you want to save face. We don't know. Maybe I would have more sympathy for David if I knew what she was blackmailing him with. Like, some things, let me tell you, there are some things I will be taking to my grave about myself, right? Yeah. And so, if somebody came to me and they's like, I got this information, I could be prevailed upon to possibly do some things that maybe I wouldn't have done otherwise, because they have information that I was planning to take to my grave.
To remove them?
Right. Exactly. I don't know that I would kill, but
I didn't say that. I just said remove.
I don't know, but I might. There are 2 or 3 things that I might, if somebody came to me with it, I'd be like, I definitely don't want anybody to talk about that.
It doesn't make sense at all. That's why, I mean, that storyline, when I first saw it, it intrigued me. Because I was like, I liked Ivy, and I was like, I like her working with David to break them up. Because the whole goody shoe with Grace is kind of annoying. So break that up, that's fine, but it just took another turn.
Agreed. To break that up would be, it's interesting, it's fun, it's it gets a little dark, but I do think if Ivy and David were just on the same page and in cahoots with each other, if he just decided to go along with it, which he has said, I was like, okay, I'm interested in seeing how they're gonna ramp this up with David. But he immediately, one week later, he's singing a different tune.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say he does kind of go along with her, like, right?
Yeah. After the visions last week or the week before, whenever the last time we saw them, David tells Ivy, after having that vision of Grace, he tells her, you know what? I'm on board. Whatever you need to do to break up Sam and Grace so that I can get Grace and you can have Sam, I'll do it because I love Grace and I want to be with Grace. And I was like, okay, we've hit a turning point, and I think that's what pisses me off about Passion sometimes. Is you think you've hit a turning point, and we're about to hit the gas, and then they hit the brakes instead, and it just
it's annoying.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. So now we're having the same old conversation with David, that Ivy, the same old argument between David and Ivy that they have been having since he came to town.
I know.
And at one point he compares her to Theresa and says, didn't you say that your precious son was innocent and you were protecting him from Theresa, but she was just doing anything she could do to get her love, right? She loves
but she's not gonna see that.
Well, she says this is completely different, and he says, how Sam and Grace aren't innocents? It's like, how is this different? But she deflects, and then she goes into like a really sinister speech and tells him that I'll do whatever it takes. I don't care if I have to lie, cheat, steal, or God help me, even kill if it comes to that. I will. I hope no one pushes me to that, David, but I will do it. Girl. She tells him, she makes it clear in no uncertain terms she has no problems destroying his life and his son's life. She tells him, you don't know the things I've done in pursuit of Sam.
You see, maybe she should have threatened John, because John serves no purpose. You know, you could just Ivy could do the same thing that she did to Whitney. You know what I mean?
She is threatening. She's saying, I'll destroy your life and your son's life now. Yeah. I think before it was like, I'll destroy your life and your son's never going to want to talk to you again. But that was a new threat. That was actually a new threat, saying, I'll destroy your life and your precious son's life too. That's a new threat. Yeah. And she's dead ass serious about it. She's dead serious. I mean, she told Eve basically the same thing. I'll get both your daughters strung out and hooked on drugs.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Ivy's ruthless. Oh man.
Anyway, David goes along with all the things. We waste so much time with David pretending like he's not gonna go along with Ivy's fucking plans. I wish we would just cut those.
Yeah, I know. But that's just to create value, you know what I mean? They're just eating up space.
Yeah. So right now, the thing that she wants is for him to fill out the annulment survey so that like the annulment will be rejected. Basically putting down that he loves Grace or whatever on the stupid papers, which I've already said is not a real thing, and you can still get an annulment if you love somebody, but whatever. So he shows up to Grace and Sam's house where emotions are already running very high, and he has these annulment papers. Sam just guesses that David has signed the papers and put the thing saying that he still loves Grace. He gets very upset and he attacks him. So
that's why I watched the next episode, because they start scrapping.
I did too. You're absolutely right. I went on to the next episode. I wanted to see the stuff with Whitney, but I also this ends with him like punching David, and so it went into the next episode, and then and we'll talk about it next week, obviously. But TC and Eve, man, are there randomly, and Eve is like holding Sam back. So.
When I saw that, I was like, I'm glad I did back-to-back weeks, because I want to talk about that too.
All right, well, we'll see you next week. Well, that's it. You have anything to add?
Not really. Sam got some style. I saw him wearing some Jordans.
Did he have on Jordans?
Yeah, he had Jordans in the opening episode. And if you notice, because I used to have a pair of those, and I was like, what? Sam's you got style like that?
Man with the J's. Okay.
That's what's up. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, Garentch, would you like people to follow you anywhere?
Papa Grinch at IG.
Spell that for me, because I feel like I did it wrong last time.
Oh, PAPA.
Mm-hmm.
Let me double check, but I think it's PAPA, and then it's _Grinch.
_Grinch, like the Grinch.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, people couldn't say my name, so they usually say
People
Grinch.
say Grinch. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, and for me, you can find me on the Discord at the Patreon. Yeah, just go over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And I think that's it. With that, you are my passion for life.
Later, guys.